live reaction to WWE Monday Night Raw. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the City of Wrestling. That way you're notified when the City of Wrestling drops his latest content and goes live, as well as drops the latest news and latest matches in professional wrestling in the community section of City of Wrestling. Make sure you follow City of Wrestling on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Threads as well, and X, and soon to be on the lookout for a new City of Wrestling account on Blue Sky. Yes, be on the lookout for that. That is being in development soon. Man, tonight's Raw is basically the announcement of the only match announced so far is Bianca and Jade versus Leah and or Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for the women's tag team championships. Braun Strowman's or Gunther's going to be there, and Bronson Reed. So that's the only announcement so far. So we'll see what transpires tonight in the world of professional wrestling. Hey. Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Really good, Richie. How's everything, man?
Oh, everything's good, man. I was trying to figure this whole thing out, and then I was uploading my latest episode of my podcast on YouTube. Haven't done that before. Then I realized I was on the wrong YouTube, so I had to switch. And then now we're all here now. So
All right, cool. Just make sure that like the volume is like low and everything, and other than that, you're good and stuff like that. Because YouTube is very strict as far as audio from anything that isn't your voice or anything like that. So other than that, we should be good.
all right.
Yeah, thankfully it's a 2 hour Raw and not 3 hours.
Yeah, with 3 hours, oof, I'm not sure if I like
Man,
the 2 hour show format for any wrestling show. I think that's the perfect length. With 3 hours, then it just like it gets a little much.
man, if it ain't a pay-per-view, man, it's just like, man, let's get this. And it's, you know what? It's not necessarily the first hour or the last hour. It's the middle hour that just drags, and it's just like, oh, come on, hurry up. Actually, you know what? I say that's more for WWE because I've sat through like 3 hours of like Collision and like Rampage or
Right.
Dynamite and Rampage,
Mhm.
and that's just gone by quickly. I was like, damn, it's already done. It's like, oh, all right. So the only matches announced tonight is so far is for the women's tag team titles, Jade and Bianca versus Liv and Raquel.
Yeah.
Bronson Reed's going to be there, and
Gunther's going to be there.
Gunther's going to be there. Yeah,
And
so he's going to be there.
an important thing to note, because this Raw might feel lacking because they're taping 2 tonight.
Yeah.
And they're in the midst of whatchamacallit. They're in the midst of taping. They started their taping at 7 tonight. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if people are gonna like filter in with like spoilers or anything like that. So
I'll block them.
Yeah, that's something that I would just keep an eye out for, because they started their taping at, I think they're in Michigan tonight. So they started.
Yeah, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind the spoilers, but it's more for everybody else that tunes in.
Exactly.
It's like, nah. Folks, make sure you follow Richie, Wrestling Retold and Relived with Richie Mars. I believe it's on Spotify, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on YouTube?
Spotify, getting YouTube started, and Apple Podcasts.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure I leave that in the comments before we end this 2 hours live reaction. All right, so we got this thing going. Just to give you a heads up, this is different than like what we usually do on TikTok, because I do more play-by-play with this one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see me like describing a match, is more for those of you who are watching, because you can't see what we're seeing. And no, I am not showing you any video. No. I'm not getting my channel getting copyright strikes or anything.
No, that's a big thing that's been happening. You know what I mean? Like, at least on the TikTok side, a lot of people are migrating to other platforms other than TikTok, whether it's YouTube, Kick, Rumble, Twitch. Like all those, like they're trying to, even they don't like really stream the shows anymore. They're hammering down copyright. And I think once we go into the Netflix era, that's where it's going to start. Like,
oh yeah,
they're going to hammer it down.
And that's something that I'm glad Gaijin, shout out to Light Skin Guys, he joined me Saturday. That's something that I comment. I'm like, hey, people need to start reading the community guidelines. Like, they're not just blindly doing this. Like, they're giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know. All right, we got Gunther coming out right now. For TikTok, I didn't know after like I think it was like three or four updates, like the last 3 or 4 updates before. You got to know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I think it was like middle of like last year or the year or the beginning of last year. I was able to put links into the text. And then after like a certain update, I started getting copyright. I was like, man, why am I getting copyright? Like I'm getting flagged, like community guideline. I'm like, what the hell? As soon as I moved the link and the @ symbol, like for my name, I stopped getting them. I was like, okay. Yeah. All right, now I see what they, and that's the thing. It's unfortunate, but a lot of people get into the, man, I get it, content, and they don't, small little details.
Yeah. Like for me, for instance, I always try to get flowing traction. So I'm just like, all right, let's hype up the Instagram a little bit. So I would have my @ symbol and like the Instagram logo, and they shadow banned it. And I'm just like, why are they shadow banning? So, but then I looked up, and then like they cleared it. It's like, oh, this video was good, but it was like after the prime time of just like, the upload. So I'm just like, all right, so I can't like, it's like when I say like a video, it's like if you say anything like social media-esque, anything that's flowing traction to another thing, even if I say something as simple as WWE posted this on their YouTube or Instagram, can't say that. I have to say social media. I have to be vague enough where it's like, okay, they did that, but I can't be specific because I have a feeling like the algorithm doesn't like me saying it's like, oh, they uploaded this on YouTube or Instagram.
Yeah, that's why if you notice when I post the graphics for live reaction, whether it's Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, or even a pay-per-view on TikTok, if you notice, I use the logo. I don't even put the words. I just put the logo.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. And I know WWE's been cracking down, but AEW is probably the hardest. Like just from
Fight TV through AEW.
Yeah, like because I had a video that went to over 90K, but it got stopped by traction halfway through, and that was with the episode with the whole backstage footage thing. Because AEW taken down like videos of that, but I only had a still picture. But they stopped it, saying it was low effort content, but it was the same content that I would always post. So I was like, all right, I see the.
Yeah, it's a different world. All right, so we got Gunther giving a promo. All right, I guess he's gonna call out Damian Priest. Hey, maybe it's me, but it looks like they re-added the LED post to the ring post, because a couple weeks they didn't have it.
Yeah, usually that's like if they're traveling outside of the country, like they'll use like the traditional ring post just because it's easier for travel.
Well, no, they actually had it for the States too. I just noticed it. I was like, man, they didn't have it for a couple of months. I was like, I don't know, it was weird. All right, we got Damian Priest heading to the ring. Yeah, I was telling Gaijin on Saturday that as I've done, be on the lookout, folks, for my top 200 wrestlers for 2025 in next month, because I always wait for like the last 3 days or 4 days before the new year, because something always happens. Somebody gets injured or retires or something, and I got to redo the list. But I mentioned to him that, man, there's a lot of wrestlers in just the world of wrestling that are like in limbo. It ain't so much they're not being pushed, but it's like, okay, they were pushed, but they're like on standstill.
It's like a filler.
They're not dropping. Yeah, like they're just. You know what? I'll use the proper term. They're in this like wrestling purgatory.
Yeah.
There you go. If you get that idea, so it's like they're not going here, but they're not. It's like, okay, it's like, where's this?
We don't have time
going?
to push them, but like we don't want to like bury them, or like we don't want to. I don't like using the word bury. We don't want to like promote them just because there's not enough space with stories right now. So we're just gonna,
it's like okay,
win some, lose some kind of deal, like how Dolph was for the longest time. The good hand roll where it's like, all right, like you're gonna give us a couple good matches. It's like you'll win some, you lose some, but you're not gonna have like a flowing narrative throughout the show or the year.
Yeah, like for me, like it happened. I think it was last year or the year before with AJ Styles, because you get those wrestlers, they already accomplished so much. It's like okay, they accomplished so much, but it's like, is there anything intriguing or captivating that you're looking forward to the next year? And it's like, it's like there's not a lot to be really. So I'm like, man, I can't really put them on this list because it's like this is all for basically newcomers and like people that are hot. So it's like, they're either a newcomer or on the rise, or are they hot? And it's like, well, they're not a newcomer. They're not necessarily hot. So it's like, you know what? I got to put them over there. Like in fairness, I can't put them on the list because they're not just to put them on there.
Yeah, and especially AJ is one of those guys where he's kind of like, he has more chapters behind him than in front of him when it comes to his career.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you have a lot of things like done, like he's already been there, done that in WWE and everywhere he goes. But now it's the time, like, even though it's like kind of hurts as a fan, it's time for him to build the next generation, whether we'd like to admit it or not,
Yeah.
And, he tried to do that with Cross to varying degrees of success. I personally wasn't really. It was just like I was watching it. I was like, okay, it was like things happened, the storyline, but it's like there was no like consequence. Cross didn't get any more over. AJ was in a spot no one really wanted to see him in, so everyone was just like, eh,
Like another person that's like in between is Bayley. Because like she's not a newcomer, but she's not necessarily hot, and she's already accomplished so much. So it's like, is she like? There's like it's not. You know what? I put it in the like the nostalgic type category, where it's like anybody that's more nostalgic, like you really can't put them as like a top person going into next year because it's just like, there's. You get what I'm saying? It's just like it's not. Wait! Whoa! Who's coming out now?
Oh, it's everyone's favorite.
Ludwig. Ludwig Kaiser.
The fact that one of his moves is called the Kaiser roll, like, I love wrestling puns, like especially with moves.
That's a cool name.
So like the Kaiser roll, I'm just like, oh, that's awesome.
Man, who else had a freaking dope finishing name? I think it was on Collision. Somebody did it. Man, I gotta contact Gaijin.
Oh,
we caught it on commentary. We're like, oh, that's a dope name.
You know what I'm loving about Collision? Like the Maximum Male Models or MXM and the Johnny TV story.
It's the most logical thing you put them together.
It's like you just look at it, you're like, that makes sense. Push that.
Yeah. I think that's something that even in the 80s, they were like, whether it was Vince, NWA, like they were really good at like aesthetically putting people together that like, okay, this makes sense. And they go on their run. And then from that run, you just evolve and everything.
Their characters like were already established and it made sense for them to come together. Not like when, like the 2010s WWE, it's like this guy's not doing anything, this guy's not doing anything, let's throw them together. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like in TNA when they did Beer Money, with a Rude and Storm, like they made it work. But other times it's just like, even with like a Morrison and Miz initially, it was just like, huh, why this pairing? They're both feuding with each other. But
did somebody just comment? Oh no, nobody didn't comment.
Also, peeping.
I've already had to block like 2 people already.
Oh jeez. But Damian Priest already wearing a Bad Bunny shirt, so that's pretty cool.
I wonder if that's a foreshadowing that somebody might be returning soon.
Yeah, possibly.
Well,
We'll think tank in there. But I'm excited for this like feud with Gunther and Priest, especially because it feels like this is Damian Priest's time to get like a match under his belt where it's like, okay, he's a main guy. Because with his world title run, all his matches were just, plagued with interference. Like people were looking for interference.
With Judgment Day and everything.
Yeah, and now it's the time where he's babyface now, where it's like, all right, we could establish him as, his own guy. And I think he has like a good thing going for him. And like he does have like, I'm not sure if I'm going to say like he has it, but it's like he's on his way to like showing that he has a lot of potential. Kind of like when McIntyre was first getting onto the scene. Oh, we got a return on our hands right here.
Asuka?
No, close. We got I'm not sure if my feed's faster than yours, so I'm not.
Dakota. Yeah, you are faster than me.
Yeah.
Who cares? Dakota Kai.
Yeah, I feel like this episode of Raw is going to promote like the women's War Games match, since now, like you have Jade, Cargill, and Bianca, and now you have Dakota returning. So it's like Jade, Bianca, Damage Control on one side, and Liv, Raquel, and I was thinking like Pure Fusion Collective is what they want to do, like more of a Raw team.
Yeah.
So it's
it's probably going to be more Raw versus SmackDown. Like when they did the NXT, Jordan Grace, Julia, Stephanie, I'm missing Kalani Jordan, like that match. I'm like, that's your women's War Games match. Like, why are you leaving? Like, you have no hot feuds in the main roster. That's your War Games match. But they didn't do it. It was like, all right.
Yeah, a lot of it had, I think, to do with like, I think Team Liv versus Team Rhea was probably going to be the War Games match.
Yeah, and then
Rhea broke her orbital bone, right?
Yep. Oh, we got Damage Control versus Pure Fusion Collection. Nice.
Yeah, so I think that
they should just call them PFC. Because man, that name is a tongue twister.
It's gonna like if they call them PFC, I'm gonna think of KFC, and I'm not sure if I want to associate it with that. Just because I know it's like a letter off, but even still, I'm just like, I'm not sure if I.
No, you're not wrong. Because like, man, who was I? Me and my buddy were like Pure Fusion Collective. Like if you're saying it real fast, like, hey, tonight we're gonna have Jade, Cargill, and Bianca Belair and Nia Jax versus Pure Fusion. You see what I'm saying? Like Pure Fusion Collective. It doesn't.
It's the fusion part that gets.
Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I think this is the first Royal Rumble that's in February.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, if that's the first, when is the Super Bowl? The 4th? Or the 2nd?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it's the 2nd. Now that's pretty smart if they're doing the Royal Rumble before the Super Bowl. That's actually pretty smart.
Yeah, it gets a lot of traction, especially because lost my train of thought. But yeah, it gets a lot of traction, and especially with you have WWE who's trying to break into the mainstream, for lack of a better term. Like wrestling now all of a sudden cool again without like being specifically like cool, where it's like I feel like the meme portion of wrestling has really gone, because Roman Reigns, he got like same thing with John Cena, they got over huge in the mainstream because of memes.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing is that I think people forget so Sunday, November 24th, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, we got Marina Shafir versus Jody Threat. That's going to be a solid match.
That's going to be a good one.
You know what? A lot of people get on like Marina Shafir, but I've seen her stuff in Defy Wrestling, because I believe she's the Defy Women's Champion.
I believe.
And man, she's ruthless. Like, I would say, like in Defy, she's like a woman's version of Dan Severn. Where it's like relentless and just submission holds. It's like, yeah, you're not defeating her or anything. Let me see what else. Hey, he's gonna be joining our Monday night. Shout out to Ebu from Wrestling Purists. Nice. I like to see that there's a nice movement of people migrating to Blue Sky.
Yeah, I haven't gotten my Blue Sky up and running, but just because I've just heard of it. So
You know what? A lot of people like they're in that stage like, all right, I'm still posting here, but I gotta create this. Like I still
right.
Why is it going in and out? All right, just to give you a heads up, man, because this chat keeps going in and out. Hopefully my internet doesn't randomly go out and everything. So if something weird happens, I'll create a new thing if it does happen, and then I'll send you the link and everything.
Yeah, no problem. I have my monitor right here just in case, so I can check.
Okay.
Stuff.
But yeah, a lot of people don't know that like TKO, who owns WWE, is a part of the largest talent agency in Hollywood.
No, yeah, like, and the thing is, like, I forgot, like, I know Priest, Tiffany Stratton, Liv Morgan, Punk, they're all signed under Paradigm. And Cody, along with Rock and Cena, they're signed to Endeavor, like the actual company. So it's like we're gonna see a lot more crossovers between stars. Like we're gonna see a lot more of the. Like I know, like Seth Rollins, he said he got cut from the Marvel movie, but you know we'll see what happens with that.
Just yeah, I know they showed him in the trailer.
Apparently, he said it wasn't him. Which you know, I was kind of bummed because I made a video about it, so I'm just like, oh, it's like I got to take it down, but I didn't want to hear the comments. It's like, oh, he said it wasn't him, and I'm just like, it was like the Edge thing all over again when he said he wasn't going to AEW, but it's like, kind of knew that was like the direction he was going.
Yeah, we kind of know where you're going there.
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting. Go ahead.
I was like, he was saying like, he's like, oh, I have both like in my mailbox. I haven't decided what to do yet, but I'm just like, we know where you're going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting the next 2 months in wrestling. Not speaking of what's happening outside of wrestling. But it's going to be real interesting what's going to happen with Kevin Owens. Who else? I don't know. They said his contract was coming up towards the end. But like
the thing is,
so he put Randy out to feud with Cody. So, I mean, more than likely he's staying.
Probably already signed, you know what I mean? Because he's like Triple H is a big fan of him. So, like Owens, Sammy, Samoa Joe was like Triple H's guy for a long time too. The DIY guys, like all of them are like peak like Triple H guys. So it's like I'd be surprised if they left.
Hey, we got Kofi walking in the back.
Yeah, talking the truth with Woods in the background. And again, just for no confusion, this is not the New Day inspired episode of Raw that Pierce was teasing on Raw Talk.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of questions about that.
Okay, there's Woods. Like, I get that they're doing the tease. Pete Dunne just interrupted him.
See, Woods is wearing a Burn the Ship shirt. Is that a Baron Corbin shirt? Or is that just like a coincidence?
Burn the Ships. Let me look it up right now. Honestly, I would love for them to go to AEW. They need a run.
Honestly, I think I prefer Baron Corbin in TNA. I think like the
roster, fits.
He fits in there, and plus with the whole JBL thing that's going on, I think he would fit perfectly in that story that they're telling. Even like, you know, AAA, like CMLL, like even like a Noah, I think would fit Baron Corbin really well. With AEW, I think he would get a lot of flack from the online community, unfairly so.
You're right.
What?
That term, burning the ships.
Yeah.
That's Baron Corbin.
Yeah. Because that was his entrance theme.
Yep.
And I actually was a fan
of
it. The team with Apollo Crews, like the brief team run that they had.
Yeah. Yeah. Baron Corbin and TNA would fit with the New Day. And I mentioned this a few times on Friday nights on TikTok, is that like in wrestling, and this isn't even a new thing, it's even like going back to the territory days.
Right.
Like a 6-month run. And that's usually, I wouldn't say 6 months, but like, you know what? Going back to the 80s. Usually a good run would last you 2 years. After that, you need to go somewhere else and freshen up your character, because if you stay too long, then it's just like, it's, how do I put it? Nonchalant apathy. Like, I've seen that guy. You get what I'm saying? And it's not like, ooh, I want to see this. Like, you have to go. It's, you know what? I don't like the person who said the same, but I got to give him credit. Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
And he said, how can they miss you if you don't go away?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Corbin definitely got that, and WWE's answer to that was just throw another character on him. It's kind of like having a jalopy car and then putting like a hood ornament on, like a different hood. You know, he was a lone wolf, then he was the constable, then he was the king, then he was sad, then he was happy, then he was I don't know what the next one was.
I always liked his lone wolf character.
Mm-hmm.
When everything like the money, Corbin, and all this, I'm like, man, just go back to lone wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say nothing. Just walk out and just
especially
and it's like
in NXT counting down how long the match was to. Like, he was getting over with that, but you can't do that every week when you're on, WWE television.
And that's the other thing. When you got 2 hours on Raw, you got 2 hours on NXT, you got 2 hours on SmackDown. January, you're gonna have 3 hours of Raw, 3 hours of SmackDown, so that's 8 hours. So it's you, and that, I think that, you know what, it doesn't necessarily fall on the wrestler. It does fall on like the booking creative committee. Yeah, because it's like, hey, if you put a person out there too long and too frequently, and you're gonna lose that. Ooh, like. I always use this effect when you're watching wrestling. Something's interesting, you kind of just go like this, like you just like lean in.
You're like, oh, all right,
yeah.
Like for instance, the Ciampa thing that's happening on SmackDown. You know what I mean? That's probably the most interesting DIY has ever been on the main roster, including their tag run.
Yeah, I know Thomas isn't gonna like that. Shout out to Thomas, but no, you're right, because how many times? Like, it's interesting now. But then at the same time, it's like, hey, we kind of seen these guys feud like 2 or 3 times before. But because WWE plays on the out of sight, out of mind, it's something new. And it's like, no, if you paid attention, like, they've fought, like, they've had feud, like 2 or 3 other feuds, like, in like a good 10-year span. So it's like, nothing new.
It's something different too, and believable, because Ciampa's upset that Motor City Machine Guns took their spot. Whether that's true or not, there is fans, like, and I got a couple comments on my videos, like, saying it's like, oh, MCMG, they shouldn't have won the tag title so soon, and then there's a complete opposite argument where it's like, they've been around for years and years.
Yeah, and you know what? It makes sense, because like when they won the titles, like, I don't know if you were on that live, but I mentioned, like, you know what? I see why they're doing it. They're getting the titles off of GOD, so all the attention can be on the War Games Bloodline, and then you build this with Motor City Machine Guns and DIY and everything like that. And it's like, okay, that's an old school booking trick. I've seen that like a bunch of times.
What I mean, it's a soft reset where it's like, now it's a new team that they're promoting as your favorite tag team's favorite tag team. And now it gives the audience a reason. It's like, oh, we got to check these guys out. And then, like, all the other teams that are reacting to their arrival getting success right away.
All right. Here's the thing about Raw. They always go to commercial when there's either a dive outside or a move outside the ring. What? Have you ever noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
I've been telling you, I'm like, man, they're going to go to commercial. Then boom, they go to commercials. Like, man, how do you know that? I'm like, dude, it's kind of like their trademark.
My friend and I, for years, we would do like a fantasy, like 2K, like a universe. He would draft a roster, I would draft a roster, and then we would book and watch like pay-per-views together. Every time there's live outside, we'd type, "Oh my god, look what that happened there. We're underway in this match. Let's see what happens right after this." You know, like every time like somebody dives on the outside, because it's like that's the segue. You know, where it's like you can't just like segue someone in a chin lock. You know what I mean? You got to have like that high energy like move, whether it's a near fall kick out or that you got to have the viewer invested where like they're like, all right, we can't change the channel now. This match is starting to get XYZ.
Yeah, with this, what I've noticed is like whenever it's a dive or anything like that, like the announcers are more animated than the crowd, and it's like, oh, you're going to commercial. Like, all right, there you go. And you know what I've noticed since they've gone to like 2 hours, they do not have a lot of food commercials during Raw. I miss that, man.
You know, I think it's the 3-hour thing. You know, it's like I feel like they base it. But I don't think they want to have like a AEW like a Pizza Hut like situation where it's like something's happening. Like
that was funny, but no, they used to have, what is it, Papa John's, Pizza Hut, Mike's Heart Limit, like all that. Like you hardly see those commercials. Yeah, Sonic. Like you hardly see those commercials. Like, man, like right now we got I don't know if you see, like there's a cinnamon or spices commercial with McCormick.
Commercial.
This is the first time I'm seeing this commercial from McCormick. They've been around for years.
Do you remember that there was like the AEW didn't time out their commercials once, and it was like a Jack Perry promo, and then it just cut to a Taco Bell ad?
Yeah.
I started laughing so hard because
it was funny, man.
Because I'm just
it was funny.
Now I want like, and I'm like, thank goodness, because Jack Perry has finally got into like this scapegoat character where it's like,
yeah,
all right, finally I get it. Like before I was just like Jack Perry with a beard, but now it's like it seems like he's finally like found his groove a little bit.
On Saturday, me and Gaijin, when Jack Perry was wrestling, I was like, hey, you ever noticed that like a lot, like we're probably gonna do it on a Saturday. I'm debating if we're gonna do it on a Saturday or on TikTok, but I'm like, hey man, people always say like Tony Khan is like trying to do WCW. I'm like, the dude was a tape trader for ECW. There's a lot of ECW like parallels between AEW and the wrestlers, and the main one was Jack Perry, because I'm like, hey man, do you realize like Jack Perry's kind of like
Raven?
AEW's like Raven?
Yeah.
In a way.
I mean, he hit the Raven pose, so I'm just like, yeah, well.
That's the thing. Like, if you think about like how his promos changed and everything, and if you remember the basis of, all right, we're back from commercial.
Yeah.
Damage Control actually is looking for the pin as the code in the ring. Oh no, that's Kari Sane. And the promo that Daniel Garcia did, oh, you're spoiled, neppy baby, and all that other stuff. And I'm like, you know, that was the basis of Raven's character in ECW.
He was a rich kid.
A rich kid that I'm like, it's a parallel, it fits. So I mean, I'm debating on, but I'm like, man, there's a lot of parallels between, like, because I think me and guys were like, John Moxley is like Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk.
Yeah.
And then we're like, who was it? Freaking MJF is Shane Douglas and Chris Candido. And I'm like, holy crap.
I mean, MJF took a lot from Candido. I think he said it was like Candido was probably top.
Even if you look at his build, he looks like Candido. I'm like, I was sitting there when I was like, man, who the hell does he look like? I'm like, wait, he looks like Candido.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, if you like I saw him at Creator Pro a couple of times. Like he's a very nice guy, like very nice guy. But like if you notice, like in his early AEW run, he would do the Candido powerbomb off the top.
Mm-hmm.
He was a huge influence.
It's like, oh, that's a nasty kick.
Yeah.
Nice back suplex by Shayna Baszler.
Like
you know, go ahead.
I was gonna say for the women's division overall, we have like all these trios. Sometimes I feel like they have more of a trios division than AEW has sometimes.
And the thing is that like I mentioned this a couple years ago, and we were like, no, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, if you look at WWE's roster between NXT, Raw, and SmackDown, I'm like, that's the company that actually should put a ranking system. Like, because it would make more sense for them. Because I'm like, AEW, I'm like, okay, you got a ranking system. I'm like, no, WWE actually, it fits them more. And the way they tell their stories, it actually fits with how they're doing it, especially how they tell their tournaments and King of the Ring. So I'm like, I don't know why they don't put a ranking system. Like,
the
it's
ranking
logical.
Is always going to be tough, especially with a predetermined sport like this, because one, you have to keep track of like the wins and losses, and two, like it's easier to like keep the story like how it is, because some people like pull like story beats out of their butt sometimes in order to get out of situations, and sometimes WWE explains them, sometimes they don't. Prime example, the whole Cody Brock feud. We're still trying to figure out why Brock attacked Cody.
It's you know what I noticed. The problem with doing rankings and wrestling, hey, they won.
Yeah.
Damage control. Wow. What I noticed with the ranking system, you can't have a ranking system more than 3-4 people. If you go more than 5, that's where you get into problem, because you have to rank all their numbers. If you keep it like 3 or 4, and the way you do it isn't necessarily, oh, well, I won this match, so I go. It's like, no, you have your champion. Okay, so you have your champion, your number one contender, your the second and third person. So from there, are you married? What the hell? Where the hell are these bots coming from?
See, let me actually see the live chat. I haven't seen the live chat here. All messages. Yeah, I can.
There we go. Yeah, you're gonna. Unfortunately, you're gonna get that a lot, especially. No, I don't know why I'm getting these.
I don't know why the
weird chats.
I'm just getting the poll.
You know what? That's the thing. Make sure you guys fill out the poll. The poll of the night is: where will Gunther drop the World Heavyweight Championship? We have Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania 41. Magic Goat Figures, what's up, man? So yeah, the way you do it is like the third in the ranking, the person that's ranked third wrestles the second person, and then they move up. And then what happens is, after so many, like if they lose, they have to after so many losses in the year, they have to go back to NXT. So that's how you do it, and they have to work their way all the way up to the ranking system. So I'm like, this actually could work if they did it with just 3 slots. If you go 5 and 10, that's where you're gonna screw everything up.
Do you remember when TNA did their ranking system?
What year?
This was like the Hogan Bischoff year, so like 2010.
I don't. I literally stopped watching NXT or TNA like after like 2011, 12, because I'm just like, man, this is boring.
This ranking system, because it's really funny. So they would have the initial top 10, and then it's like,
okay,
we'll get the vote on who the number one contender is, because everyone's expecting Jeff Hardy, like so popular that he'd be like top choice, and the champ at the time I think was RVD. But the thing is, TNA at the time was a very big internet community kind of promotion, and at the time Desmond Wolfe was recently like on the block for TNA, so he got voted in at number 1. So they legit gave him a shot at RVD in a 5-minute squash. And they're like, oh, now fan voting's only half of the choice. Now wins are gonna matter, because they didn't want.
Oh, that sucks.
They didn't want to push Desmond Wolfe.
Oh my lord! For those of you who are tuning in, this is the live reaction for WWE Monday Night Raw. I'm your host, Dedrian 180, and here with me is from wrestling. Forgive me if
Yeah, it's all right. It's a wrestling and relived.
Yes. With Richie Mars. Make sure you guys fill out the poll and make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the City of Wrestling. That way you're notified when the City of Wrestling drops his latest content and goes live. And right now we got Jimmy, Jay, and Sammy.
Mm-hmm. You know, what's interesting is WWE released their new SmackDown promotional poster, and Roman's not on it.
I think it's because they might. You know what? Unfortunately, I think we might see the end of the brand extension. The draft. Because Netflix wants Roman, Cody, and Punk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna see an end of that brand extension real quick.
Yeah. It really just kind of depends. Like, I think they still keep it just because the draft is always like a high viewed episode for WWE. So I think they keep it, but I can see, like, you know, remember they used to have like the Raw Super Show?
Yeah.
Like, I think they might toggle with that a little bit. I think after WrestleMania 41, you're going to see a lot of significant changes to both Raw and SmackDown.
Oh yeah. All right, so I guess we're getting Kofi.
Pete Dunne.
Pete Dunne? Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm like typing up my notes. How do you feel about the Women's United States Championship? I mean, it's cool, but at the same time, this is another situation that people have been complaining about, that most of the storylines are going to be around the championship belt and not something outside of the championship belt, which has been one of the many complaints, not just in WWE, but just in wrestling in general, that it's like most storylines just center around the belt and not something outside that can organically lead into something else that leads to the belt and everything like that.
I mean, the good thing is that it will lead to stories that WWE now has to put the women on television.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
So it's like, and if you notice the commentary on SmackDown, they mentioned SmackDown and Raw. So I'm not sure if this is going to be like a cross-branded championship. I feel like if it was, the U.S. title would be a weird thing because the Intercontinental Championship just kind of like, you know, connects everything. You know what I mean?
Read this comment. Who is your favorite wrestler of mine? Johnny Gargano.
Can't read the comments. It's not letting me pop up.
Oh, it's not letting you?
Huh?
Oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah, it's all right.
So, yeah, the comment is, who is your favorite wrestler? Mine is Johnny Gargano. Man, is this Thomas?
I
know.
Is that
this Thomas' other account?
His burner account?
Huh. Is this his other account? Man, that's a wide range question. Who is my favorite wrestler? Is it right now or like past?
Like all time, you know? It's like there's a lot of different categories. For all time, for me, it's Guerrero, you know? Because he is just like if I think of like who like a perfect wrestler is.
Wait a minute. Who is Tomas? Is this Thomas?
I'm not sure. Would the thing is with me, I feel like Thomas would let us know if it was him. So
yeah. Magic Goat Figures. Hold on. Let me see this channel real quick so I can look up the channel. Hey, 334 subscribers. Good stuff. Nice. Man, I think so I'll go right now. My favorite wrestler right now is Jon Moxley. I freaking love Jon Moxley's character.
Joyce.
Like, it is the depths to his character. And it's not only the depths to his character, his promos are almost like I really, if I were to interview him, I would ask him like, "Hey, are you getting some like tips from Jake the Snake Roberts?" Because like a lot of like he's given like these riddles and these foreshadowing in his promos, and it's just like, man, where the hell is this gonna go?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So
he's doing very little on screen, where it even enhances more of like, okay, this dude said this, but he did like, is somebody like it's almost like a hybrid of like Terry Funk. Terry Funk, Jake the Snake, and like Scott Hall. Like if you put those three together, you got freaking John Moxley.
It's like with Moxley. Have you read his book?
No, I haven't. Not yet.
So he has an audio version too, where he does his like own narration, so he doesn't have like anybody else reading for him, and he's a very engaging storyteller. And that's like with his promos, it's not like cutting promos; it's telling stories, and just like, and he takes you on like this ride. And I remember, if you know James from Ruthless Talk, great guy. He has a podcast too. Check it out if you haven't. Like he said something like with Rock, where it's like he takes you on like this journey, and that's why Rock can like get away with like certain like filler words like that we would like land based other people about, like if like hypothetically if Rock like Seth Rollins said Cody crybabies, then like I feel like a lot of people would flame him for it, but because Rock said it, it's that. I feel like Moxley's kind of like that for AEW, where it's like I don't think he could do any wrong, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm like typing up your. So make sure you guys follow Wrestling Retold and Relived with Richie Mars. It's in the comments, so go look for it.
So this is what. So on my monitor, it's like since I can't see the chat on here, I pulled it up on my monitor here, so I can have, like double taking right now. Where
let's see. Yeah, John Moxley reminds me a lot of Dean Ambrose. Go figure. Oh man, forgive me. Excuse me. So right now we got Pete Dunne coming out to the ring. I know people want us like they want him to do more. I know he's been orchestrating a few matches. Yeah, so I mean, maybe that's where he's at in his life. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's one of those things where not everyone can be at the top. You know what I mean? Like we can complain like, oh, they're not doing this with this person, with this person. Everybody is signed to have a specific role on the show, and sometimes you're gonna get showcased. Other times you won't get showcased as much. Like for Pete Dunne, his showcase was with Sheamus, you know, for a bit, and now, like we said, like there are some people who aren't necessarily getting pushed, but they're still kind of in the mix, but they're not being catapulted. Pete Dunne would be in that category right now.
All right, we got when should Paul Heyman return? Survivor Series.
Honestly, I could see the tension with the Bloodline still happening. Roman disrespects Jay, then everyone falls apart right before War Games. That's when the Wise men together, and then it's complete.
Heyman is with the OG Bloodline, and The Rock is with the new Bloodline.
I think
that could happen.
Being the special referee would kind of make sense.
Oh, that would be. You know what? I mentioned this to one of my buddies. Like, oh, I hate it, but I'm like, man, the holy crap, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And me's like, man, that would be dope. So right now you got the old Bloodline and new Bloodline feuding. But man, it would be so dope if they just joined forces. You got the OG on one show and the new Bloodline on the other show, and they all have the freaking belts.
And then you have who just got NXT, Lance Anoa'i, and they have who's the big guy that you're signed to a couple months back?
Hikuleo.
Yeah, Hikuleo, just like
so that. You think about it. How much of a I know some people are like, oh, it's like no, this is different. This is a freaking family. Like, think about how many levels you have to go through to defeat the tribal chief. Like, that's a story in itself. Like, it's one thing to have, you go through Jimmy and Jay and Sammy. But if they join forces, you got to go through Jimmy and Jay, GLD, then you got to go through Solo, then you got to go through Jacob. Who else am I missing? I think I'm missing somebody.
You go through Sammy. You got to go through
Jay. Sammy, and then you get the Roman.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's some storytelling right there.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like, even though, again, sounds great. It's like you're getting to that final boss. Like video game style. You get like all these mini bosses, and then you get the final boss, which is Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Like I look at it because I've watched a lot of films,
Mhm.
like Polynesian films.
Yeah.
With like Samoans and stuff like that. And there was one film that's on Peacock. It's with the guy that played The Rock on Young Rock.
Yeah.
And like there was like the street brawl. And I'm like, yo, a lot of these movies, like if you watch any Asian or Polynesian action film that's deals with fighting, there's like channels you have to go through to get to the final boss. Like that's most of the stories. I'm like, how do you not implement that? Like most of us have seen those movies, and that's why a lot of us identify with or are engaged with the Bloodline storyline, because it's just like, yo, this is something out of a freaking action movie that we saw on like Netflix or something like that, or like, this is pretty cool. And I would like them to do that. Like, okay, you fight and then you just join forces. Just like, shit. Like, can you think about it? If you're a tag team and you want to battle for the titles, let's say God has it, you got to go through the Usos first, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Like that, like, man, that's.
I think not like the main problem with it, but I think a lot of people, we're in a generation where attention is very hit or miss, so to speak, where it's like short form content is the way to go nowadays, because not everybody's gonna sit down and watch like a 2-3 hour podcast. Sometimes they just want the quick content. And I feel like the biggest criticism of the Bloodline, especially because Roman's not there every week, is the little or lack of story progression that happens.
Yeah.
So like I think that would work for a while, that scenario. But as we saw, like this storyline's been going on for 4 years at this point. It like people are even wearing thin on it now, even though they've been producing quality segments, So it's just things where it's like in practice, I could see them totally doing that, but at the same time, it's just kind of like I think people are ready for another major storyline other than the Bloodline. But the problem is, what is that next major storyline that's going to encapsulate, the audience they gain from the Bloodline? So that's something WWE needs to figure out.
All right, here's the movie.
Oh, okay.
What's ironic is the guy in the bottom played The Rock's uncle, Sika.
Oh, yeah.
So it's great, but man, watch this movie and you'll understand where I'm coming. Like, oh wow! And what's ironic is that he's like in the guy who played Rock. His character is in like finances, and his dad passed away, and a wrestling champion. But some hooligans steal it, and he has to go through all the hooligans.
Oh boy!
And he gets to the main one, but that wasn't the main one. The main one was kind of like the final boss, and it was his nice neighbor that was all ha ha ha, and he's like, "What are you doing? Why?" Like, really, it's a really cool movie. It's a really cool movie. That's why every time I see the Bloodline storyline, I always think of that movie. I'm like, man, did they watch this movie? Like, did they take some elements from this movie? Because it's like,
well, the kid the cinema, so why not take from cinema?
Yeah, cinema. Damn. Okay, so we got Pete Dunne stomping on Kofi's back. He's got the upper hand right now. Man, you know what? I've noticed that this crowd is very quiet.
I'm not sure how.
Or very, very subdued. There you go.
Well, a big thing is like either Kofi or Pete have been like in big stories on television. They were kind of like, I'd say, like your like B plot, C plot kind of stories when it comes to an overall television show. It's kind of like in Friends, if you give like the A plot to like Phoebe, you know what I mean? Where it's like she's not like the promoted friend, but it's like real for herself. And also there was there was a little advert for Saturday Night's Main Event. I'll be going to Saturday Night's Main Event. I'm very excited. It's gonna be my second one. My first one was do you remember when Randy RKO'd Cena on the chair? Yeah, that was my first one.
Yeah, for me, the originals are always going to be the best. Nothing's going to compete with the originals.
Yeah, and apparently they have the curve ramp this time, like the old school days.
Oh god, that's so dope. That's so dope.
It'll be
Ooh, damn! Look like he really connected with that
Flash.
kick. Yeah, Kofi. Here's the cover. 1, 2. Kick out by Pete Dunne.
I feel like Kofi's in that same category of the Miz, where it's like they're never
And
going
Bayley.
to be truly appreciated until they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And because like Kofi and Miz are probably the two most consistent wrestlers in WWE for the past, I want to say like 20 years at this point.
Well, actually, no, longer.
Let's see, because Kofi was 2008 his debut in ECW.
It's about 16.
Yeah, and Miz
Yeah, about damn.
You want to say tough enough and Miz has been there 20 years if you want.
21.
Yeah,
No, 19.
Yeah, 2000.
No.
Like you want to count like tough enough. 2004.
5, 6.
Daniel Pewter.
5, 6. So yeah, almost like 19, 20 years.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh wow.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Pete Dunne's got the upper hand.
Oh, you're gonna see something great.
Ooh, nice. Let's see. Are they gonna do the dive and then nice clothesline?
Yeah. Got some fighting right here.
Oh my lord! There's certain things I like about WWE, but this is kind of stupid.
Which one?
Like Kofi and Xavier like arguing, like it's almost gone to the point like they're arguing just to argue.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you listen to their points, like at some point be like, you know what, you do your thing, I'm gonna do my thing. Like it's not realistic to be like, oh, I'm just gonna be partners, but they're gonna do it my way. Like, really?
I do like it because it's showing that like before in like matches they weren't really like it wasn't really getting in the way of their squabbles, and now it's now getting to the point where Woods is blatantly interfering in matches, and Kofi is like taking umbrage to that. Ooh, okay.
Damn, it's gonna be 8 o'clock already.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued with the story. I think it's probably the best story that they have for just in general that New Day's been a part of, because they've been on neutral for a while. And another thing that I'm appreciating for at least this era of WWE, the camera cuts are now at a minimum. So it's like I watched a like it was during like a Thunderdome show, and it was like a 30-second clip, and it was like 34 cuts or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm just like
I remember
God.
Legitimately got sick. I got
just like, and I know doing film and broadcasting school, that's why I never like, why are they doing this? Like they're professionals, because it takes 7 seconds for a viewer to process the image that they're seeing. And I'm like, bro, these ain't even 7 seconds. They're like 3 seconds and then boom, 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 boom. I'm like,
less than a second, and I'm surprised that I was able to watch that kind of WWE. And I actually talk about it, if you know Bald Bro on my podcast. I asked him, I usually ask my guests what topic they want to go over, and he's like, 2019 WWE. I'm just like, why do you hate me, Bald Bro? Why do you?
Man, that was one of my pet peeves before, because I'm just like, and I brought this to somebody's attention, and they're like, oh my God, I never thought about it that way. I'm like, look, it takes 7 seconds for the viewer to process what they're watching. So if you're cutting and everything, you ask them, hey, what did you see? I don't know. So it's all right, we got Judgment Day. All right, we got Judgment Day with
Carlito's playing his PS5. Love to see it.
So is Dominic Mysterio trying to be Cheech Marine from Cheech and Chong?
Oh, we got some tension right here between these members.
Okay, this is kind of
This is a very petty thing for me, but Carlito holding a yellow apple, I don't know. I just like I'm so used to him like holding like the red or green apple.
yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It could be a motif as far as yellow signifying coward.
Hmm. I'm not sure if WWE creative is like that deep into it. Oh, we got Bronson walking, and we got Jay and Rey Mysterio talking backstage. That's interesting. It's interesting development. I always like the occasional Rey Mysterio as the center focus story.
Oh, you got Jay and Ray
Jay
talk. Okay.
was talking to Rey.
Okay, interesting.
You think the conversation?
Interesting.
Hey, you realize our names rhyme?
Jay and Ray. Oh, you know what? I I didn't even catch that at first. I'm like, what? Oh man. Thank you guys for tuning in to this live reaction of WB Monday Night Raw. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the City of Wrestling. Make sure you follow Wrestling Retold and Relived with my man Richie Mars, who's joined me this Monday for Monday Night Raw. Make sure you guys check out the community section of City of Wrestling for the latest news and professional wrestling, as well as some random latest matches in professional wrestling. And make sure you guys fill out the poll. The poll of the night is when will Gunther dropped the World Heavyweight Championship? We got the choices are Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania 41. Richie, which of the four do you think Gunther is going to drop the World Heavyweight Championship?
Honestly, I could see him holding it past all these pay-per-views or PLEs. If I were to choose one, probably 41 would be probably the most logical, in my opinion. Just because I feel like there's a lot of stories that you could tell with Gunther and someone trying to develop at WrestleMania. Like another popular theory is Cena, but I don't, I don't want Cena to win the world title from Gunther just because Cena himself, like, unless he wins the Rumble, which they might give it to him. This is like one of the first years where it's like there's no clear winner of the Royal Rumble, so I think Cena winning would be like a kind of cool thing. But even Cena said himself he hasn't won a singles like televised WWE match. I think he said in like over 2,000 days.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, and this is not a knock on Cena, but he's not the Cena. You know what I mean? Like
Nope.
he's like what I call passable Cena. You know, he could do like all his stuff.
Nostalgic.
Yeah,
nostalgic.
Cena. You know, it's like, you know, I'm bummed. Like next year's gonna be his retirement like tour as well. I'm gonna try to get to his like last match at MSG.
Yeah, screw Cena. I don't want to see you. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking, people. I am joking. Look, I remember John Cena when I was watching that SmackDown episode when he came out and challenged Kurt Angle, and that was 2002.
Yeah.
So I was 20. Yeah, I was 20 years old when that happened.
I started watching Cena when he was Thugonomics. This was during his Kurt Angle feud, the SmackDown one, not the one when he was already champion. But this is like, this is where it's like, you know, it's like when your favorite band is hasn't gone mainstream yet, and then when it becomes mainstream, you're like, oh, they were so much better when nobody knew who they were. You know,
it's like, oh, like it's funny. I was watching a while back. Oh man, it was The Rock when he was Rocky Maivia. And I'm just like, man, it's so weird watching this. Like, I remember watching, like, man, it's crazy to see, like, he didn't get cheered, and to see where he is now is just like, for me, it's like, because like when he debuted in Survivor Series 96, that was my freshman year of high school. So it's like, holy, like, you see where this person started and then where they're at is just like, man, where did the time go? Like, damn.
My favorite, like, I love like bad wrestling merchandise. I'm not sure if this was like early Rock or bad or tail end Rocky Maivia. But do you remember he used to wear the shirt it's like the giant R? It's like the giant R.
Yeah.
Where it's like that. I'm like, ooh, that's brutal. Like the other one was like in TNA, they had like a Nash T-shirt where it just says Nash, like in like the I can't even describe the font. It's like bold, but it's like the most plain font in general.
It's like Jade Cargill's logo. No, if you look at her logo, that's what it was. It was in red, black, and like whitish silver.
Yeah. Oh, we got a UFC fighter in the crowd. I always like these crossovers occasionally with UFC and celebrities.
I wouldn't be surprised if there comes a day where you get a UFC WWE event together.
It wouldn't surprise me. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a showcase kind of deal. Like, honestly,
it's like we need to maximize our profits.
I could see them doing like a week of just like the PLEs. Like you'll get like a UFC pay-per-view, then in the same city you'll get like a WWE show.
All right, we got Bronson Reed coming to the ring.
Great T-shirt, by the way. Like, and I have to say, sometimes WWE has like brutal merch. Like, I feel like they've stepped it up with some people, and then they come out with like street trash, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hold.
Yeah, it's like, huh? Like this hat, it looks. You know what? It looks like a. Okay, so to give you guys a description, it's pretty much abstract art. That's what it basically is. But it looks like the overall. It's like two images in one. It looks like a gorilla, and then it's like a stripe. And then it has big Bronson Reed. So it's one of those images where it's like three images in one.
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing. Seeing that dude live, man, that is I saw him live at New Japan. At the first New Japan Windy City Riot.
Yeah.
And that dude, that's a big dude.
They were going to do some major stuff with him because they gave him a win over Okada, right?
Yeah.
So he was on his way there.
And then he went back to the E.
You know what? I can't hate it. You know what I mean? I'm not.
I can't hate it either. Because he did an interview with Sean Ross Sapp.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the visa situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you know what? I could see why he did that. 4 days until Jake Paul gets knocked out by Mike Tyson. Who cares?
And I always say I'm not team WWE. I'm not team AEW. I'm team get that bag.
I just want to be entertained. Like, you're going to go... Mind you, I mention this all the time. I've been watching wrestling since 1984. I've seen a lot of wrestlers come and go from different promotions. These wrestlers are going to go wherever the hell they want to go. Just entertain me. If you're going to go to AEW, entertain me. You're going to go to WWE, entertain me. I want to be entertained.
Let's see. Mark Henry suggests there should be a $50,000 fine for using the pile driver as to not overuse the move.
What?
I think he's like somewhat taught because it was on Busted Open, and Busted Open they like to like bleed into that line of like kayfabe in real life.
All right, here we go. Seth Rollins interrupts.
If you notice, his outfits have been getting more and more subtle for him.
Me personally, I would have liked it. Granted, he re-signed with WWE, but with the way Moxley's going, him and heel Seth Rollins that was with the Shield with this AEW faction.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Whew.
Honestly, it's like I feel like Seth Rollins' relationship with WWE, and I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. I think it's almost like Edge, where it's like you're such like a WWE guy, like or like Triple H for this instance too, where it's like you so badly want to be the 1A of the whole thing, but no matter what you do, you're always you're never going to be the guy.
Going to be that second guy, like Razor Ramon.
Yeah, like you're going to be like you're always going to be the Flair to the Hogan. Flair, great spot to be in, but you're never going to be Hogan.
Yeah,
same thing.
This past summer, I was like, man, I wish, dude, it's set up for you to go there. Like, And I was like, oh Lord. I'm like, what else is there for you to do here? Like, granted, I know you want to wrestle with the younger talent, but like, there's no like sense of like, oh man, I really want to get into it.
Honestly, I think a lot of it, one, Seth likes in WWE, so I can't fault him on that. I think another thing is like people are going to be expecting Tyler Black, and I don't think Seth Rollins can be Tyler Black anymore. At least in a consistent basis where the AEW fan base is expecting him to be.
I mean, he could.
Like,
I mean, the cool thing is they got all his video footage, so that's the one thing I think people when they say, "Oh, AEW's like WCW," like no, WCW never aired any previous footage of a wrestler that worked there before. It was just like, oh, they're here. Like, they can show some stuff because he wrestled with most of those guys.
I think another thing is like with Seth Rollins, I feel like a lot of people think like when Seth like hypothetically would go to AEW, it would kind of be like, oh, it's gonna be like 2015 Rollins, where he's just like busting out like a Phoenix Splash every now and then. And
I feel sorry for those guys taking that splash from Bronson Reed.
You know what? Teamwork
in the middle of the ropes.
Like
somebody's hurting. Yeah. Somebody's hurting to take that splash because that is a big dude.
Yeah. Again, whoever this was like weeks ago with the whole Braun Strowman thing. Whoever thought to make was it Bronson Reed who threw the fan? Like he threw the fan, the Heat shirt on. Like whoever thought of that, give that man a raise. Like make him like a CEO of a company.
Good. Now thinking about it, let's say Seth did go.
Yeah,
that would have been the perfect setup for Shane McMahon coming in. Like you got. It would be his two pit bulls. And it's like, man, the creative, it's like, well, I'll just play it out on freaking 2K or freaking Fight Forever or something like that. It's like, yeah.
Man.
Like,
Oof. I played that for about a week or two, and then I was like, honestly, it felt like playing a mobile app game sometimes. Not saying it was bad. I paid full price for it. And I was like, oof. Like fun.
Yeah,
there's not much to do after.
Yeah, it's more. When I watched, I was like, oh man, it's pretty cool. But then when I seen like the features and like a full match, I'm like, man, this is more like WrestleMania, the arcade game.
Yeah.
Back in there, I'm like, okay, and that's what somebody said they should go. More like, man, what was the freaking game with Michael Jackson on the boxing game?
Punch Out.
I think was it Punch Out or I forgot what it was.
Tyson.
Yeah, so a few people said, man, they should go that route and just create a. I know other people said they should go like a backstage assault type game where where it starts off in the backstage area and you have to end it in the ring. And I'm like, oh man, that's actually pretty dope concept.
Like anything like creative wise, they were gonna do like a WWE Mortal Kombat game, but like again, someone got cold feet, and I was like, bummer.
Yeah, you're going into an area where it's like, ooh, like, do we really want to go there? It's like,
It's kind of like we don't want to. I think they got cold feet with like just doing outside the box stuff since 2K20.
Yeah,
because 2K20 was.
I know one game that I know a lot of people liked, and it was so cool. Was the freaking New Japan Pro Wrestling game that came out like 2019? Yeah. Like it was an arcade game, and it was like, oh, it's not 2K20, but it was so easy and like fun to play with. Yeah, that was it. And I was like, man, my buddy was gonna get it. He's like, man, this is pretty cool. And I heard that the creator wrestler was like so damn cool. Like you could create anybody, and I'm like, if I was AEW, I would go a hybrid of that and Fight Forever. Whereas like, hey, you're already working with New Japan. Like, you need to develop a game where actually, you know what? AEW should take a page out of WCW. Remember, it was like WCW versus the world. They should have AEW versus the world, where you wrestle in Mexico, you wrestle in Europe, South Africa, you wrestle in the Middle East, then you wrestle in Australia, then you wrestle in Japan, and then you wrestle the world and everything, and just have like, was it 10, 15 wrestlers from each country
Mhm.
that you got to wrestle and like win their titles and stuff. Like I like those games like that.
They kind of did that with one of the 2K career modes, where it's like you get fired from WWE. Like Shawn Michaels is the main antagonist, which is so fun.
Yeah.
But then you go over Europe, you go to Japan, you go to CMLL, or like you go to Mexico, you go to and you do like British strong style matches too, which they classify as like 2 out of 3 falls, like British rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's like something different. I will say that's probably the biggest lull in the career mode, just because like it's just matches, you know.
Uh-oh, we got Seth arguing with, man, who doesn't argue with Adam Pearce?
You know, with Pierce, it's a lot of projection. I feel like because it's like, remember he called Aldis like a week or two ago,
Yeah.
superstars, and he can't do that on a weekly basis.
Oh.
Mm.
Okay, Sami Zayn asking. Wait a minute, who the hell's the 5th guy for the Bloodline then?
I think we'll probably find out on SmackDown.
Okay, wait a minute, so they're looking for a 5th guy.
Do you think they'll just tack on Cody and Kevin Owens for
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you know what? That does make sense. Because Bronson Reed is, I forgot his ethnicity, but it's Polynesian. There you go. So he's kind of with the Tongan Samoan demographic.
He's like in the. I think Samoa Joe went in detail how he's like, he's not part of the tree, but he's like,
yeah,
calls his grandma, kind of trace it back to like to see like how and where they're related. I still think like WWE let Samoa Joe slip through the cracks. You know, I was just like, we were almost there, but
ooh, he called Roman Reigns a tyrant.
I like how they're still continuing the Seth of Roman story.
That needs to be a WrestleMania.
No, yeah, I could see that happening at 42, maybe 43. I could see it as honestly, I could see that as Roman's last match when he's ready to kind of like move on.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like we're gonna get Cody Roman 3 eventually, and then you get Roman and Seth, and then honestly, that's it.
Yeah. Seth told him no. And Sammy has this shoveled look like, oh Lord. So we got Damian Priest coming out. Who's Damian Priest's fate?
Probably
Wrestling?
Probably Ludwig Kaiser.
Oh yeah, that's, how did I forget that?
You know, it would be interesting if Sammy asks Kevin Owens.
Oh my Lord. So that's the dilemma. Like, who the hell's gonna be the 5th guy for the Bloodline?
Do you think they debut like Hikuleo? Or do you think they go?
Well, they said he's in NXT.
Just because he's on the roster in NXT doesn't mean, like, the internal roster there doesn't mean he won't be on there. Maybe we even see The Rock.
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if The Rock is with Solo's team and John Cena's with Roman's team.
I wouldn't see Cena in that though. You know, I think they're still wrapping up Peacemaker.
But then again, knowing WWE, we could see Cody on one side and KO on the other side, which doesn't make sense, but it does make sense to WWE's logic.
Because if you think about it, Kevin Owens doesn't like Roman Reigns, and that's why he's spiraling, and then Cody, wants revenge as,
He doesn't like Solo.
yeah. I was very surprised that we didn't see, I know we saw the pile driver. I was surprised we didn't see the package pile driver.
Yeah, I think they actually banned that move. I think they legit banned that move. Like,
Honestly,
we don't want any risk or anything like that.
Honestly, I could see Randy being like, why not just a regular pile driver? You know what I mean? Because remember when Nakamura did his suplex to Cena and Cena just landed on his head?
So someone posted an excerpt from
is this good news or bad news?
It's Triple H in his DX autobiography said that he doesn't know why The Rock had an issue with Triple H doing blackface.
Yeah.
Woo! That is yeah, I'm gonna have to read this, but yeah, that's I saved that.
I read it earlier and it's just nope.
Tone deaf. All right, this is gonna be, I forgot when is Strong Style evolved, but we got Mercedes Moné versus Hakuzi. Then you got Shingo Takagi and Yota Shuji versus Konosuke. Holy crap!
Ooh.
Takeshita and Jack Perry?
Yeah.
Oh? And then we got Clark Connors, Kushida, Kosi Fujita, and TJP. All right, that's pretty dope. Oh my lord! Oh my lord! Can you see that?
Let's see. It's Leo Rush and oh gosh, he faced MJF at
Hichisetto.
Yeah.
Hichisetto. Woo! That's gonna be a hot match. So we got Damian Priest. Ooh, he misses the splash. Kaiser, rams his left shoulder into the ring post, the bottom left or bottom right ring post. All right, I want to know what the hell he did with that jumping drop kick, and Priest was like,
yeah,
did he just drop kick him in his butt?
Just a weird sell.
Ah!
Yeah, that's a thing, It's
oh man, that's funny. Man, what's crazy, Richie, is like it's already 8:19. It's 9:19 where you're at.
Yeah,
like, this damn show went by quick.
That's the thing with 2-hour shows. It's like there's no middle ground of it being.
It just goes.
But like with 3 hours, it's like okay, it has a nice flow, or it's just like this is drag. I'm like sometimes you're like, oh my god, we have another hour and a half of this,
That's why I would show like the latest breaking news, just to break the monotony, and then that gives new questions because man, it's just like, oh my lord.
And I'm not sure if
oh lord.
I'm not sure if you saw, but Survivor Series weekend, they're gonna have a Collision Rampage, like 3-hour block, but it's gonna start at so they don't get crushed.
That's gonna be a pain for me. I hope there's at least a 30-minute window to just take a break and then do Survivor Series, because if not, that's gonna be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's gonna be like a 5-hour stream. Man. I've done it before. I think actually the longest stream that I did was, I'll never forget it. It was a 6-hour stream. It was Collision Rampage and New Japan Resurgence. Now, the thing is, before, when New Japan and AEW would have their events, New Japan would usually start their pay-per-view at like 8. So like the kickoff would start at like 7:30, and then it would start at 8 and 9. And then by like 9:30, 10 o'clock or 10:30, the pay-per-view would be over. This day, that kickoff show started at 9. I'm like, holy sh! I'm like, oh my lord! And I looked at the card, and it was like 15 matches. I'm like,
in the building for Forbidden Door, and this year, and they had 15 matches altogether, and like a lot of it was just like they were great matches, but I was just like by the end I was like fried because like we didn't get out of there till like 12:30, and it was just like go 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 go. But
Yeah.
like again, just being in there for like the Swerve and Osprey match, I was like, man, I'm like, this is the vibe that AEW should like capture. You know what I mean? Where it's just like
Yeah.
this is hype.
It's just that, oof. I was there for the first Forbidden Door, and it was just like boom, 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 boom. And for me to take a break, I'm like, damn, man, I like kind of hungry, man. Like, shit, I need to take a break.
Honestly,
So, I mean,
me and my
mhm,
buddy, we took a break during Forbidden Door this year during the ladder match because we were like,
that was a smart time to take a break.
yeah, because it's just like we were just in time. Like we got to our seats. That's when Takesha hit that blue thunder through the tables. So I'm like, oh, okay, we didn't miss anything.
All right, so we're back from commercial break, and Kaiser with a Death Valley rolling driver
Yeah, that's the Kaiser
kick
roll.
out.
That's the Kaiser
There
roll.
you go. Yeah, this crowd in Grand Rapids is more subdued. I mean, they've react and everything. Like, I'm not too like, oh my god, it's a bad crowd. Like, there's just
I think
WWE has they've you can almost say they've conditioned fans to like sit and watch. That's how I describe it. Like, they just sit and watch, and then there's moments where during WrestleMania season, holy crap, this is like, oh, so it's those levels.
It's almost like they're saving their energy for the second half of the taping.
Yeah,
because it's like
how they've actually booked this.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's just kind of like because remember when like the first Raw that went to 2 hours was also there was like 2 tape shows, and the first one got heavily like panned and criticized, especially because they had like the 10 diva tag match or the 10 woman tag match.
Yeah, it was like,
It's just like,
okay,
all right, this came out of nowhere, but it's like at the same time it wasn't like as hype as it could have been, So it's like I think now it's like they have like a good flow with it. And I'm just kind of curious. And if you notice, like on Raw Talk, they've been forwarding stories on there too, as kind of like the gaps, like how the online stuff, which, like I'm kind of 50-50 on because the television audience just watches the TV stuff and not the online stuff. Sometimes, like there was like a viral clip or viral for wrestling terms that was going around about Brian Alvarez, like being angry at the Roger Strong Beast Mordo story and saying that Dave Meltzer talked to Tony Khan about it and was trying to explain to Alvarez, and Alvarez is like,
oh lord.
and Alvarez
I
is
actually
he's
I
like,
actually like it when they do the stuff on social media, because it's like you have to have that conduit from TV to social media back there, because you don't know who's watching. And that's the one thing, my biggest criticism with wrestling promotions is that they're really underutilizing their live streaming on
yeah,
social media. Like, they're really not capitalizing the live streaming aspect. Like, they could do a lot more.
yeah.
Oh, damn.
Got an advertisement for WWE Deadline or NXT Deadline. I always like the Iron.
Ooh, nice kick. 1, 2. Man, Damian Priest, it's almost like he's a cross between, if you combine The Undertaker and Scott Hall.
Are you saying he uses the Razor's Edge?
Yeah, that's his
Yeah,
big influence, Scott Hall and
yeah.
Taker.
I have to give Priest a lot of credit. He got in tremendous shape in his WWE run.
I remember I came across a match between him and I think it was Jay White in Ring of Honor.
Ooh.
It was a no holds barred match. I'm like, oh my god, this is sweet. I think it was right before he debuted. That's the thing that nobody talks about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if AEW launched in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
if it launched a year earlier, they would have had a deep roster.
Like, that would have been like a very deep roster, you know what I mean? Like I think would Riddle be in there, or Riddle was already signed in 2017, I think.
I think I know Swerve would have been in AEW.
Yeah.
Yeah, Swerve, Ricochet.
Hey,
I know Adam Cole was still in AEW.
He was in Adam Cole?
Yeah, Adam Cole. He was signed in 2017. Yeah.
Yeah.
17, 16. So you would have had some guys like, oh, damn. Like, uh-oh, we got Gunther staring down Damian Priest.
Oh,
he beat your boy. He beat Kaiser, buddy.
Yeah. See, we got The Rock and GQ, where apparently he confirmed he does indeed relieve himself in water bottles. Because
that is a very weird man.
I mean, it is indeed The Rock.
This is like his, I want to say his 4th or 5th cover on GQ. Look, they're already hinting. They're showing The Rock. Mm-hmm. He is going to be at Survivor Series.
He's going to. I think he's going to make an appearance at Saturday night's main event, and I'm not saying that because I'm going there. I am saying that partially.
I wouldn't be surprised because it's NBC. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
About every thing for NBC, you know. I think it's that's where we get Cody and Kevin. I think that's where we get Roman and Solo. I think that's where we're gonna get probably Rhea and Liv if Rhea is back in time.
Yeah. Who else? You know what? We might also get freaking
seeing some WWE speed action. You know?
Oh my God, they showed it?
Yeah, they're showing what happened between Sheamus and Braun at the end.
Is this the first?
This is the first
recap of Speed?
Other than the highlights, commercials, this is the first time they're showing an angle that happened on Speed.
Yeah, this Friday we got. Let me show this to you guys. We got the Motor City Machine Guns and the Street Profits.
Could be a hype match.
So this is going to be a very, very interesting match. All right, we got Braun Strowman being interviewed by Kathy Kelly.
Braun Breaker.
Who did I say?
Braun Strowman.
Now I see why Vince McMahon did not want wrestlers having the same name.
Because in AEW, they have, I think somebody went down the listings and they had something 18 people with the same name or something like that.
Yeah, it's
first or last.
Man.
I'm so glad Sheamus is back doing the Celtic Warrior workouts. That's a fun series.
Man, that's my favorite one is freaking Finn Balor's, where he has the one-armed lifting up the not the barbell, the shoulder press, and he's just walking around with it. I'm like, holy crap. Do these people realize how strong they are?
One of my favorites is the Dolph Ziggler one, because do you remember the Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler feud from 2015?
Yes.
So there was one match where Dolph got busted open hard way, right? And he got heat for that because WWE thought he did it on purpose. And Dolph's no, I have a legit cut right here, but they thought he was trying to get over because of it, which is the mentality of what WWE was back then, where it's
no, you can't do this.
No, not only that, it's it was legit hard way, where it's he had no say in getting busted open. You know. Oh, now Jimmy talking to Braun.
They need to really this is just wrestling in general. They need to tweak when wrestlers interrupt interviews, because that's kind of a old trope.
Yeah. My favorite trope is the camera pan, where it's you see someone.
It's
someone.
If you do it once in a while, it's cool, but doing it often is just all right. We got. Look, man, this is my thing about 2K and WCW. WWE's missing the ball on just producing a Monday Night War video game separate from 2K.
They did like an Attitude Era like WWE game.
The 2013.
Yeah,
WWE.
Yeah.
Like they should just do strictly Attitude Era video games, and they should do what they did with WrestleMania, the arcade, the WrestleMania game that they did for PS3.
There was
where you can incorporate the SmackDown versus Raw 2009 wrestlers into the game.
Yeah,
like
there was talk about them remaking Here Comes the Pain. There was talk, I think, of them remaking No Mercy. But yeah, it's like again, a lot of money left on the table, you know, with everything like that.
Man, like I guarantee you that if they did a Monday Night War video game, that thing would sell out than a regular video game. Because like, hey, just put Bish. Think about it. They already have the wrestlers on the damn game.
Yeah.
Like, just put it separate. Put it separate. Like, why? We don't need that. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you know. Again, it's one of those things where you gotta have to go through the proper channels, I guess. But you know,
because man, it would be fun if they had a story mode, and you have the option of original or swap, and basically all the storylines that happen in the Attitude Era happens in WCW, and all the WCW storylines happen in WWF.
Right.
that would actually be pretty cool. And then of course ECW is the third one, so it's like, do you mix half of those in there? So I mean, that would be pretty cool, just to see like.
I remember my buddy and I were so hyped for like SmackDown vs. Raw. I think 2008 is when they introduced ECW. And we were like, oh, we get to like go on the ECW brand. We can make our career there. But you only had a choice of 19 wrestlers other than your creative character to choose from. And you can't choose any ECW. Like, you can't choose.
That was so stupid.
Yeah.
I think guys.
The thing that happened was... whatchamacallit, that's when the Benoit stuff happened, so they had to get him out of the game, so they couldn't like fully like develop the game that they won, and that's Sheldon and Speedball.
Yep.
Nice.
WrestleCade. Man, one of these years I want to go to a WrestleCade because they have some pretty dope matches.
Like a lot of fun.
I remember when I was, oh man, it was. So for me, like my generation, like the best SmackDown games were the first SmackDown and the second SmackDown for the PlayStation. The second SmackDown, till this date, everyone regards that one as one of the best, if not the best SmackDown game. The only thing that people griped about it was they only had like 10 slots for create a wrestler. Other than that, the freaking season was like 100 years. The roster was like 70, 80 like it was almost 70 wrestlers. They had to create a pay-per-view. They had a ranking system for every belt. So it was just like, dude, like I remember when they were like, oh, it's gonna go to PS3. Everyone's like, yo, just increase the creative wrestlers to like 50 to 100. Shit, you got a great game there. Man, me and my buddy got Just Bring It. Oh my lord, we hated that game.
You know, Just Bring It was hilarious. This is going back to like, you know, finding a fifth man, right? You know, because Paul Heyman still needs to be introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Paul Heyman very tight with in WWE?
Huh.
Like think of like Paul Heyman guys.
I know he's been recruiting Braun Breaker.
That's one, but there's somebody that we're not thinking of. It's been off TV for a little bit. Doesn't have a court case against him.
I know who. I did not think about that. I did not think about that. CM Punk.
Yeah, you think that's a possibility?
Jay's talking to Kofi. All right, we got Karrion Kross in the Final Testament with the Miz.
I like this story because Miz is like, I'm like, I don't know why I'm here. He's like, I'm trying to just live my life. Miz is like, I turned heel before. I never had this spooky.
I know.
Yeah.
So damn, wait a minute. I didn't think about that. You got Punk on one side and you got Drew on the other.
I wouldn't. I feel like Drew's like done for the rest of the year.
He's a better man now after the Wyatts kidnapped him.
Yeah. They're just forcing Miz like into this situation.
He's telling him to move on.
Yeah. Just a heads up, I might need to grab my charger in a bit.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, man. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You know what? Go ahead and get it.
Oh yeah. But I'm not sure. But why it's 6? I'm just because I'm still like 20%, so I'll be good for a bit. Let me just see this why it's 6 potential thing.
All right, so they are dragging
Miz out.
Miz to the ring. Go ahead, go get it.
Oh, okay. All
right. So they got Miz. All right, Authors of Pain are dragging Miz to the ring. Karrion Kross is just shouting at him. Scarlett's in the ring, so they just threw him in the ring. So I guess we're getting the Wyatt 6 coming out at some point. Oh, damn. They cut his eye. Damn, how the hell did they cut? How did they cut his eye? Uh-oh, lights went out. Uh-oh. The lights, uh-oh. Wyatt 6? The Wyatt 6 are here.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Ooh.
All right, we got Uncle Howdy in the ring. I'm sorry. The dopest one, the dopest looking one is freaking Dexter Lumis.
I agree. He looks awesome.
Man, Nikki Cross is short.
She's like 5'1", I think.
Oh, damn. He just hit Eric Rowan, The Miz.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell The Miz's eye is bleeding. I don't know what the hell happened.
I was gonna ask. I was like, what? I'm like, how did he get busted open?
He rolled in the ring and he rolled over and you just see blood trickling. I'm like, what the hell?
I don't think I've ever seen Miz busted open. That's like a weird visual.
No pun intended.
Like I associate him with like the PG WWE. But that's an awesome shot. Oh wow.
Ooh.
Oh jeez.
Oh damn, that was a nasty. That was a very snug power slam.
They're actually. I like Karrion Kross's finisher. It's like that power slam F5. Oh, it was a ruse. It was a ruse all along.
Yep.
Even my immediate family bought it.
So the Miz is.
So Miz is like in cahoots with the Final Testament.
Oh Lord. Please tell me. I would not be surprised if R-Truth interacts with the Wyatt 6.
Oh my.
It's bound to happen. It's WWE.
See. Uncle Howdy is laughing.
You know what? Like you said earlier, this is like one of the most this is the most I've been intrigued in to Karrion Kross since he was in MLW before he came to WWE.
The Wyatt 6 did the impossible, and they made Karrion Kross interesting.
Because man, before that, it was just like, oh, he's cool, but like, all right.
It's like promos, good, but then like the bell rings, and then
it's just like,
all right. like don't get me wrong. Like I liked his match with Balor. Honestly, Finn Balor's second NXT run is heavily slept on. Like I think that's probably one of the best runs, like solo runs someone's had in the company. But it's like that was pretty much it.
Yeah, his like for me, like I don't necessarily like say, oh, they're a bad wrestler or anything like that.
Yeah.
Again, since I've been watching wrestling since 1984, now it's more how the promotion and the creative team presents a wrestler.
Mhm.
Because I mean, any wrestler, like nowadays, like even old school wrestlers say, any wrestler can put on a good match.
Yeah.
But you got to have that nice balance of good match, character, and
Mhm.
presentation all in one. Where
That's
it's just like I. That's my thing. You just ooh, like you
yeah.
just ooh, and that's where it was like he was there, and it was just like, man, something's
And I think that's what happens
missing.
with AEW sometimes, where it's just like every match is like a great match, you know? Every match is like a good to great match, but there's nothing that really separates it other than the people that are involved in it. But then the people that have characters like Tony Storm, Christian Cage, John Moxley, like those are the ones that catches everybody's attention. Like Swerve when
Yeah,
he was getting hot. MJF.
and you know what? That's something like a wrestling thing because on my list, I noticed I'm like, man, there's a lot more women's wrestlers that stand out than the men.
Yeah.
And it's something that Sting, the wrestler Sting, shout out to Sting, man. I
Love
miss him, man. He did an interview and he said, man, he's like, there needs to be more color and character
it.
in wrestling. He's like, it just seems like everybody looks the same,
Mhm.
they're presented the same. And he's like, back in my day, nobody's presented the same. They were just there.
Because
And of
everyone was
course, mhm,
muscular and you had to differentiate yourself somehow.
yeah. And if you weren't muscular, you present as like your style was technical wrestling, mat wrestling,
Power.
power, brawling. So
Mhm.
each wrestler had a different look that fit their style. And now it's like reverse,
Mhm.
where it's like there's a style, and then like the look comes on. It's like, like something like it doesn't connect.
Yeah. Oh, I got to tell a funny AEW story. So, you know the graphic that they put out earlier in the week, like Mox seizes the Superstation at TBS. So, as a joke, I put on my Instagram story and I put the caption, I'm like, "Air the Drew Carey show, you coward!" And then,
Oh my lord!
so it's like, because I
I
looked,
really want to know what the hell did he seize?
but the thing is, it's like I posted that, I looked under the people that watched it, and AEW actually saw my story.
Oh my lord!
So I'm like, whoever the intern was, uh, they're dumb is dumber than a fifth. They should have said he eats like a fifth grader because of the whole chicken tendies.
I know it's like I'm surprised a wrestler didn't go up to him and be like, "Hey, when's your bedtime?
Yeah.
Like, when's your bedtime?" Like, I ain't got nothing wrong with chicken tenders, but like the way he described it is like, bro, you
he
ain't in
did,
seventh grade anymore.
he ranked his favorite chicken tenders.
Man, you know what? I should save this. There we go.
And we got Seth Rollins walking out of the parking lot, not the NXT parking lot. Oh, that's interesting. Ooh, well, this might add credence to a theory that I said earlier.
Oh,
So now it seems a little bit logical, you know?
okay.
Mm.
By myself.
Mm.
Oh, he called him a wannabe Roman Reigns.
Oh boy. Do you think they cost him the match next week against Bronson?
I think so.
So then, like, Seth will join the team, maybe. Really, Seth's only 225. He seems a lot heavier.
6'1", 225.
Oh, we're getting Sheamus versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship next week. That's gonna be fun.
Ooh.
I'm gonna enjoy seeing that. And now we have our main event.
Sheamus and Braun Breaker. Should be a Donnybrook.
Can you imagine the the internet community if Liv wins the tag titles and then she has like the crown jewel, this championship, and like this?
You know what? I would not be surprised.
Because it makes sense in her story. Because like revenge tour is over, right?
Yeah, basically.
Imagine everything is flourishing for her. And then you have Rhea Ripley come back and then cost her everything, like how Liv cost Rhea everything. And then Rhea just
I think you're onto something. And you know what? I believe this is the first time Jade and Bianca are in the main event defending the titles.
Yeah.
So that's actually that's very suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
I think living. Oh shit! I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, just don't go to Twitter because this match probably already happened already. Oh, the Prime logo is always like very.
I hate that damn logo. I hate that damn logo.
Funniest thing was, I think it was like night 1 of WrestleMania. You know, Cody Rhodes does like his kiss the mat everything, and he was kissing the Prime logo, and then you see.
I was like, it gives me strength.
And then at night 2, he deliberately like went past the Prime logo. I'm like, he learned.
It's like, Yeah, I think Jade and Bianca are dropping the titles.
Yeah, like that's where it's like I was thinking, because I'm just like, it's main event. It's like the women don't have War Games set up, and the logical thing to set up for War Games is like you need to have tension between the two teams, and Io Sky is like the number 1 contender for Liv, so that gets damage control on Bianca and Jade's side, and then with Liv and Raquel, you could add like what we saw earlier, the PFC, and then you have your War Games match for the women.
You know what? This reminds me of the 2021. Was that the one where Vince had the stupid egg?
Yes, that was when Big E was champ, right?
Because I remember the women's matches heading into there, like it lacked, like the build was rushed, similar to like this, like the build to the women's main roster War Games match. This is being rushed because we're only 2.5 weeks away.
Yeah. So like War Games is usually last week of November. So let me see. So I think it's the third. Is it the 23rd or the 30th this year?
I believe it is the crap.
Because they usually do.
I believe it's the 23rd. Let me check right now. Let me see. Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think Liv and Raquel are gonna walk out with the titles.
Yeah, because like, and it also shows like the almost redemption tour, because like that's what Rhea took away.
November 30th.
Okay, because that's where Liv and Raquel, that's when their issues with Rhea really began. So it's almost like a full circle kind of moment.
And then I believe Alexa Bliss is supposed to be coming back.
Yes, I believe so. I'm just not sure when, because she did voiceover work for Queen of the Ring, I think.
Yeah. All right, we got Jade and Bianca.
Mm-hmm. Now,
a lot of this feels rushed.
Do you think, like as a team, do you think Bianca and Jade have done their job, like elevating the women's tag division, or just Jade in general, or do you think it's just kind of like
It's
something?
been Bianca. Literally, it's just Bianca has literally had to carry Jade and then carry the tag titles. Like I mentioned this on Friday. I don't think you were there, but me and guys were talking about. We're like, you really look at it like Jade and Bianca pairing was to have Bianca go up, like elevate it, and then elevate Jade.
Mhm.
In reality, the opposite happened. It's like once they put Bianca with Jade, it dropped Bianca, and Jade never really elevated
I will
and
say
everything.
Jade's hot tag is probably her best thing that she does, other than
Yeah.
presentation wise. And
Oh man, I gotta watch this movie. Euro Trip.
oh, okay, rid of it.
Somebody just posted the scene on with the guy with collecting the change. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta watch that movie, man. That movie's a classic. But what were you gonna say as far as Jade and Bianca?
I was gonna say, like, if you notice, like they've been on pretty much every PLE, and the women's tag titles. We were saying that they should get more attention, and for better for worse, they did elevate the tag titles, whether that was the intention or not. But for Jade,
Yeah.
they didn't necessarily elevate Jade that
Damn,
much.
what a drop kick.
I don't think they've gave her like even 3 singles matches this entire run. Because
Who?
Jade, because I think she did like a squash against Chelsea, and then I think she had,
Maybe 4.
because I know
Maybe.
she was in the Queen of the Ring tournament. Because I know the DQ against Nia, but she won against somebody before that. I think it was Piper. I'm not sure. It was like I
Okay,
think it
you
was
know
like
what? I will find out right now
I think it was 3 or
on
4.
Cage Match.
Cage match for the win. Except Tony Khan, if you're listening, and there's a 50-50 chance that you are. Never cite that you listen to Cage match, because they had to change their
She's
whole.
had since last Friday.
Mhm.
So I'm going backwards.
No.
Let's see. Tag match.
Just looking for
Well, you
one.
had the number 1 contenders battle royal. She was in. You
Yeah.
couldn't you can't technically say that's a singles match.
Nah, yeah, that's the thing. It's a lot of people. It's a lot.
Let's see. Tag match, triple threat match, tag match, tag match, tag match,
I don't think she's
tag
had
match,
a match since
tag
this.
match. Let's see what else we got. Tag. SmackDown August 9th.
Yeah.
Alba Fry.
Okay.
Then you had tag match. Actually, I think she's had 4 singles matches her whole run.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Her
saying.
next match was July 13th at a Super Show versus Isla Dawn.
Okay, that's not televised though.
All right, so then you had Money in the Bank qualifier triple threat on SmackDown. That was June 28th.
But that was like a triple.
Then the Queen of the Ring quarterfinal, May 17th.
That was against Nia, right?
Yep.
Then she won the first round matchup, I think, against Piper.
Yes, that's another match. That was in May 10th.
And then I think her last win before that was with Chelsea, like the night after Mania.
Yeah. April. That's it. That's literally all her singles matches.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Man. That's what I'm saying. Like in reality, like her run, it's been more Bianca carrying her than her being elevated.
Right.
That's what I was telling Gaijin. I think it was last Friday. I was like, dude, I came across like on YouTube TV. If you don't watch, like if you pause like watching certain programs, it takes you back to those programs. And I came across her defending the TBS title against Taya Valkyrie.
Mm.
And I looked at the presentation. I'm like, yo, she was more of a. She stood out more in AEW than she does in WWE. Like they normalized her.
Yeah. With WWE, it's just like, oh, there's Nia and Tiffany Stratton on my end.
You got Lash Legend and Jakara.
No, on television right now.
What happened?
Nia and Tiffany Stratton are on our television screen.
Now I see them.
Yep.
Don't worry, I don't care about spoilers.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, Jade, like, think about it. Ooh, that's nasty. Like, really, like, how have they really made Jade Cargill an attraction in her first year?
I think like her by herself they didn't, but I think with her with Bianca they did. It's kind of like that star kind of rubbing off on everybody.
Ooh, that was nasty.
Mm-hmm.
We got Naomi.
We just got brand warfare.
Basically, so let me get this straight. We're going to have Jade, Bianca, Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have. So who's going to be the two partners? And then we're going to have one partner for.
Oh, wow.
We're going to have Liv, Raquel, Nia, Tiffany. I guess we're wrong. They're not going to. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Looks like they
switched. They won. Bianca and Jade won. I guess we were wrong.
Yeah. And then won't be the first time I'm wrong. Won't be the last.
So, all right, we got. There's Nia. So it's 3 against 4. So Jade, Bianca, and Nia need 2 people. And then on the flip side, Nia, Tiffany, Raquel, and Liv need 1 person.
So it looks like Io Sky is going to be it.
So it's going to be Damage Control with Jade, Bianca, and
Naomi. Okay. And then
who's the next?
We got Nia, Stratton. Oh, probably Candice.
There you go. I forgot. I was like, man, who's somebody? Or you know what? Actually, it might be Bayley with Bianca, Jade, and Naomi. Because Kairi Sane isn't out there.
Mm. All right. Very interesting.
Very interesting. This has been a very hey, no credits.
Mm-hmm.
You're not giving anybody credits this for Raw.
They're busy filming the other one.
I know. No executive credits. Interesting. Well, that was a very interesting Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Quick recap for those of you who are tuning in. We're gonna head into the review part of this live reaction. It's not gonna be an hour or 2 hours. We're just gonna skim through it because it really, I mean, realistically, there wasn't much to like really go deep into detail.
Like things happen, but they didn't happen.
You know what? I gotta say, I like this time of year in wrestling, especially now that we have 2 companies, because usually, historically, like November, December is like when things heat up going into the next year.
Right.
So it's like the year just starts off like hot and everything.
Right.
Oh man, this show is actually pretty good.
Based on a true story?
True story. Yeah. I watched the whole series on Peacock. So we started with Priest and Gunther. That whole segment. That was pretty good to start off the show. It was pretty good. It got to the point. I think with last week's episode being in Saudi, like it's kind of like it did,
Mhm.
like it connected, but it didn't connect with the audience because it's like,
Yeah.
overseas, like, So this just like got everything back to like, okay, this is where we're going and everything. What did you think of it?
I thought it was a good thing, you ended the previous week with them staring off, and then you start the week with them in the ring together, kind of addressing like their past issues. And like I said before, it's a good way for Priest to actually have like a main event caliber match where it solidifies his place as a main eventer, and it solidifies Gunther because Gunther. I'm not sure if you noticed like this subtle story beat they've been doing with his reign. His entire run so far has been righting the wrongs of the blemishes on his record, like attempting them. Because if you remember the Randy Orton match, beat him. Sami Zayn beat him. Tried to beat Cody Rhodes after the Rumble eliminations, didn't beat him yet. I think that story is gonna come back around once he.
Nice callback.
And then with Priest, Balor helped Gunther win. So but
So
that's
it's
not the
almost like they're gonna. It looks like they could potentially do a reverse, where it's
correct.
Priest get righting his wrongs and everything. Nice. You know what? I didn't notice that at first, but now that you bring it up, it's like, okay, that makes sense. And you know what I like about this feud with Priest and Gunther
Mhm.
is that for some reason they really do have like low key some good chemistry.
No, yeah,
And I think
like
it's about time that Gunther gets into a rivalry that's his own, not
mhm.
a byproduct of someone else's rivalry, or because I was in a tournament, or you know this
Yeah.
whole thing. Like now this is like something he can sink his teeth into. I like this.
Mhm.
Then we got Damage Control with the returning Dakota Kai versus Pure Fusion Collective.
Mhm.
Um, it was a decent match. It wasn't great or oh my god, it's amazing, but it wasn't bad. It was a decent match. They really focused on reestablishing Dakota Kai with Damage Control, which I liked because I mean, let's face it, outside of like, it's ironic because it's the same thing that's happening with the Bloodline.
Mhm.
It's kind of happening in the women's division. If you're not Jade, Bianca, Nia, Tiffany, or Bayley
Mhm.
or Liv, that's like out of sight, out of mind. It's like, oh, you're nice. So I mean, it brought back the why, or I shouldn't say the importance, but like the significance of Damage Control in the women's division. What did you think of this?
I thought it was a good reestablishment of Damage Control, because again, Dakota's been on the shelf, like we mentioned before, and it's just one of those things where you got to have her reestablished. You got to have Fusion Collective as the fall women for this match for that reestablishment, and I think it's time for Damage Control to kind of like veer out into different things, kind of like shake it up a bit, because it seems like Io Sky's the central focus, and I would like to see more focus go on Kyrie and Dakota. And when Asuka gets back, you could toy with that relationship right there. And if I know anything about like babyface factions or like people who are newly babyface factions, they don't usually like one of the members usually doesn't say babyface for long. So I could see them getting some tension possibly because Io Sky showed up and didn't talk to like Dakota or Kyrie about it either. So I could see some tension being played, but overall, I think it was a solid match, and it helped forward Damage Control, which is what you're trying to promote right now.
I'm looking up on Cage Match because I'm like, wait a minute, man. I think they've wrestled Pure Fusion Collective like almost every week
It's
on Raw.
gotta
So
be at least.
let's see. Okay, this is going from November 2nd back. Let's see. Okay. Um, damn, August 8th, August 26th, Pure Fusion Collective. Um, then they had, wait a minute, okay. Fatal Four Way. No, they weren't there. Raquel, no. No, no. All right. Yeah, August 26th, Damage Control, Pure Fusion Collective. Women's Tag Team Triple Threat. Unholy Alliance, or Unholy Union, Damage Control, Pure Fusion Collective. Um, women's tag team title, number one contendership. Mind you, this is all in the month of August. WWE tag team title, number one contendership. Damage Control versus Pure Fusion Collective. So you know what? Now that makes sense. They wrestled the whole month of August against them.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd do it.
I, I was like, man, I know they wrestled them a lot. So you had that. Then next you had Sammy and the Usos talking, and basically they were talking about getting a fifth member, which I the way they presented it, there was like 4-on-4.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so that's the thing. Like, who's gonna be the fifth member? Um, so they were just talking about, okay, you do your thing and stuff like that. So they were looking for um their fifth member. Then we had Kofi Kingston versus Pete Dunne. Now, match was decent, but where things got really interesting was towards the end because you spotted. I was like, hey, we got some action outside the ring. Kofi Kingston clotheslined Pete Dunne, and Kofi Kingston was kind of like, "Hey man, what the hell's going on?" He shoved him and everything, and that allowed Pete Dunne to get the win. So
Mhm.
you are a fan of this Kofi Kingston Xavier Woods feud. Me, on the other hand, I'm kind of like, it's like, all right, it's like I know you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but what did you think of this incident with
I think
Kofi and Xavier Woods?
Yeah, I think it was a solid like story beat, because this storyline has been going on for a while, like whether it's in the foreground or the background, but it's been going on for a while in that it's happening in a believable way. You know how like friends actually like you see the process of them falling out with each other, and you get to see like the arguments like happen, like you saw the insecurities of Woods being feeling like he was being left out, and to a lot of his like arguments, yeah, like Kofi didn't tell him about Odyssey Jones. He's now out of the picture. And now like Kofi Kingston's like, all right, you're the QB to Woods, and Woods like now trying to call like everything, but he's doing it in a heel way where Kofi's like, nah, this is not how we do things. So it's like it's a very big like you could see both perspectives, which I'm a big fan of those kind of stories, because when you see both perspectives, it's almost like, all right, I can choose who I can root for in this situation. But now it's like
Yeah.
it's clear that Xavier Woods is taking the heel route, because even though he had a point in the beginning, the way he's handling it isn't the most babyface like way. So it kind of neutralizes his points on being in the right, so to speak.
Yeah, this when it happened, I'm like, okay, and they've been doing this for like the past, I want to say month,
Hmm.
where Xavier's doing something like he's not helping this person out. He's like, why do we do this and stuff like that, and like the way this story can go, and especially for those of us that have been watching wrestling for a while, of
Hmm.
course, the first thing you think of, oh, this is like kind of like Sting and Luger, where Luger was the heel and Sting was the baby face, and oh, I'm oblivious to it, but
Hmm.
Kofi isn't oblivious to it. He sees it.
Hmm.
Um, I for me, I don't mind it because I know it's going somewhere. I think what it is that it's been going on for so long that it's like, okay, are we eventually going to get to where you want to get to with this story? Because it's like, are they gonna fight? Are they gonna do something? I think personally, because was it next week that their anniversary
They didn't
is?
see a show yet. Like when that show, they just announced it's going to be a future episode of Raw.
Okay, I think that episode. I don't think we're gonna get a breakup. I
Okay.
think we'll probably get a match between the two,
Mm,
where they're like, you know what? Let's just forget this. Let's stop talking. Let's just go in there and beat each other up and then take it from there. I think what could happen, they have a match, Kofi and Xavier Woods, and I think this is their way of turning Kofi Kingston heel
mm.
with
I've had
Xavier.
theory before.
With Xavier. Because he's the thing about it, the whole basis of their feud is not understanding each other's point of view.
Hmm.
And Kofi's like, man, we've been doing this, this whole legit way, and look where we are.
Hmm.
Everybody's forgot about us. And Kobe's like, no, man, happy go lucky. And then it's like, it's one of those things you got to get hit with a upside the head, like, oh, wait, man, we are being disrespected. So I think
Hmm.
that's where it's leading to. But Pete Dunne won. Then we had was it Bianca and Jade video package. Then we got the backstage segment between Judgment Day, and we had some tension between Dom and Finn Balor. This is very Dominic Mysterio's feeling himself and everything.
This is filling up the. They had a Raw Talk segment, I believe. I'm not sure if it was on the actual show, but with the War Raiders and Finn and JD, where Finn and JD were kind of taunting them, and then Ivar set a crack like maybe Dom's getting the spotlight that Finn that's having, and then Finn got insecure about that, tried to attack them. So Finn is showing he has a short fuse when it comes to this, and it goes with Finn Balor's story arc of that he feels slighted due to the fact of him only holding the world championship for a day. What was the Universal Championship? But it's like ever since then, ever since that Seth Rollins storyline, that's been the big sticking point. That's been the thing that's been sticking in his craw throughout this entire time. And now we're seeing that unfold, and now we're seeing him, for lack of a better term, he's just kind of like you're seeing like his creation, like his own Judgment Day creation, crumble at the sights because he can't handle like not being
It's
viewed as
deviating from
yeah.
his original conception. Yeah, I like it. Like I didn't expect it to get to this point. I anticipated, of course, in wrestling, in particular in WWE factions, you eventually anticipate, okay, when are they going to break up? Like we know it eventually gets there. I didn't anticipate this soon. Um, it's an interesting dynamic because like Liv is in this storyline still with Rhea Ripley. Dom is attached to that storyline. Liv and Dom are the heels in the fans' eyes, but really, in reality, the storyline, they're actually not the heels when you really look at it.
They're just standing their
So you
ground.
have that, and then you have Finn Balor, who's upset that he hasn't won the world title because Damian Priest got it, and then Dominic won. So he's on this very. It's not even for me. It's not so much a Judgment Day thing. It's this Finn Balor thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, ooh, you're like, man, I haven't won no title. This, and you kind of have Judgment Day, or JD, McDonough, Carlito, Liv and Raquel, and Dominic. They're in their Judgment Day, but then you have Finn over here. So
Mm-hmm.
it's making me wonder, like, hey, are we gonna get Balor the Demon and just go off in his
No, it's like
own?
where it's like I feel like the Demon for a long time was like in a way holding Finn back a little bit because he wasn't really his own character. People were just saying it's like, oh, when the Demon shows up, that's when we're gonna get like the
Yeah.
real. But now with this Judgment Day Finn Balor, he's had more character. He's been having more motivation that he's had in his entire run in WWE, and I think he just passed his 10-year anniversary, believe it or not.
Yeah.
He like I can see it like not as like a breakup, but I could see like him just like leaving the Judgment Day.
Just
Yeah,
fading out.
where he's just like he's still a heel, but he's just like he's on his own, and that's when we're going to see the Finn Balor Damian Priest feud get into high gear.
I, it's weird because it's like, if they do go away from Finn Balor being on his own, it's like, man, it sucks that like Carl Anderson and AJ Styles are injured because it's like,
Mm.
kind of got a good percentage of Bullet Club members in there.
Yeah, I mean, we
Like,
still.
I mean, you got that and everything, but I mean, it was a really interesting segment
Got Luke.
where it was one of the first times you saw Dom really like with his chest stuck out and like, hey, I beat the champ. So it's like,
Like,
okay, this is interesting.
did you?
Then we had a. Go ahead.
No, I was like, I'm like, yeah, but I beat the champ. I'm like, yeah, did you though?
I know. Then we had actually, what's interesting? If I recall, Finn Balor did not help him win.
No,
It
not
was
like the
Jade. It was JD, Carlito, Liv.
and Raquel.
I think Raquel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't. So it's.
And there was a segment that Finn's like what? I thought Dom said he wanted to do it on his own. And JD's like, oh yeah, but we're boys, this, that, and the other thing. But Finn's like, look, it's like we gotta focus on these tag titles, and the tag titles are being used as a plot device to put the focus back on Finn Balor. You know what I mean?
So it's a lot of things. I think we could potentially see something kick off at Saturday night's main event. I think we could see with them. That's the perfect feud to like have something kick off. I don't think you're going to see anything. Just to sidetrack a little bit, I don't think you're going to see anything major kick off at Saturday night's main event. But I do think this type of feud would be the perfect feud to kick something off going into the new year.
It's almost like WWE's version of World's End in a way, where it's like, it's
Yeah.
last year or the last major show, and then you could really start a storyline where it's just like, all right, now we're deviating into this direction. And I
To go
think
here.
that'd be a good way to do it.
So then we had the Jade Bianca vignette. We had Bronson Reed, who was interrupted by Seth.
Yep.
I believe that's when they started brawling and everything.
Yeah.
Man, shout out to those security guards or the enhancement talent. Man, I don't know how much money you got paid. I hope you got paid quite a bit of money to take that cannonball through the ropes from Bronson Reed. That dude is very spacious and weighty. And that was a lot of force coming at you. So you had that. I mean, they've been doing this for a couple weeks. I'm not gonna say, oh my god, it's typical. It's like, no, it was a cool thing to happen. Their first match was cool, but now going into this feud elevating, I'm interested to see how what's the next match type to go there, because that's the key. Like, you can keep something going, and we kind of seen that with Priest and Dominic Mysterio. Is like after a while, it's like, okay, like what, like where are you going with the match? Like, just another singles match? Like, yeah, okay, can we can this be like escalated somewhere? You get what I'm saying? Like, it's like kind of like if you played like freaking a SmackDown Raw game or anything like that. If you play a singles match one too many times, you're just like, all right, yeah, this.
It's like yeah, we're doing like, it's kind of like it's like Towers, it's like 2K Towers, where it's like it's just match after match after match. If there's nothing like that's at least varying the
stakes.
Varying the stakes, varying the narrative, then it's just matches, So that's what you got to do. And I think with the Bronson Reed stuff, and they're taking, Braun Strowman 101, where it's like, let's just have him like cause chaos every week, because then the fans love it. And the thing is, you can't rely too heavily on it, because you're going to run out of ideas to actually make him look like a matzo. Well, thankfully, the security guards out there, one of them's probably a future WWE champion. And
probably, but man, that's a big dude.
What got him?
Man,
what got in my mind was throughout the whole thing was, and this is a weird thing when I was watching it back, because they call in like the extras or locals within the area to do WWE work. I'm wondering if that's going to change who they call in with the WWID program being in effect.
That might be their way of bringing them on quickly.
So it's just like now it's like, I'm not sure if we're going to get that call for extra work anymore. It's now just going to be WWID people.
Yeah. You know what? That's a very good point. Yeah, actually, you know what? I recommend you do a video on your TikTok. Bring that up. That's a very good thing that nobody's talking about. Then we had Damian Priest and Ludwig Kaiser. This was a solid match. This was a nice, decent match. I do gotta add this. If you're watching this and you haven't watched Raw yet or anything like that, I'm not gonna say the crowd was bad. It was a very subdued crowd. It was a crowd that was just sitting there watching. Of course, with the major, like the big stars and everything, they pop and everything. That's a common theme with WWE. But I mean, it was mostly a subdued crowd that were just watching everything. It wasn't like, oh man, what town was that? Was that Savannah, Georgia? For both Raw and Dynamite, where they just sat there, like just no reaction or anything. I think that was Savannah, Georgia. But man, Priest, Ludwig Kaiser was good. I like the stare down between Gunther and Damian Priest. Man, I'm trying to think of what feud Gunther and Priest remind me of. More big guys.
It kind of reminds me of, it's an odd comparison, but it's like, I think like if you remember like the Undertaker Batista feud, where it's like just two big guys going,
There you go.
where it's just like every month it seemed like these guys they like for years these guys never touched, but you're like, I wonder what this match would look like.
You
But
know what?
month,
I'm gonna do an old school callback. I don't know if you've seen matches like this, but now it's coming back to my mind because I've seen this match. It reminds me of Andre the Giant versus Bobo Brazil.
oh okay, yeah, Bobo,
So
yeah,
go and check it out. This was like I want to say late 70s. Those two, Killer Kowalski and Andre the Giant, or Killer Kowalski and Bobo Brazil. Now, mind you, those were the original big guys, like the original big guys. So you go back and watch that, because I don't know if you've seen any photos, but like um, I've always said that Gunther is like this generation's Killer Kowalski. Have you
yeah,
ever seen a picture of Killer Kowalski when he was younger?
yeah.
Put a side by side of Gunther and Killer Kowalski. You're like, holy, like, did somebody time travel or something? Like, is he related? Like, what the?
Just
And that's
superimpose his
think,
head on his body, and then you
yeah.
got
So like, looking at Priest and Gunther, that's where it reminds like, no, this is more of an old school Bobo Brazil, Killer Kowalski type thing, where you have these two big guys that had like kind of similar move sets, but like different styles. If that makes sense.
yeah, it does make sense, and I think what works with this feud that makes it different from anything else. One, we're in the generation where it's like the work rate era, where it's like it's like like you're gonna get popular if you're a great wrestler, regardless. But that means the bigger guys, they're not as like promoted because it's like, oh, he's gonna wrestle like a big guy, like how people back then, like in the '90s, was like, oh, he's a cruiserweight,
Yeah.
like diminishing that stature.
Or
Big
a
guy,
middleweight or a heavyweight.
yeah. Now it's like, oh, it's just like bigger guys, so that means it's gonna be like, it's like gonna be a match. But these guys, one, can actually work. Two, they don't look like traditional, like the WWE bodybuilder guys. These are guys
Yeah.
who were once like legitimate, like looked like heavyweights. They slimmed down, and now they look in tremendous shapes. They don't have like 6, 8 pack, 12 pack, but they could look like they could crush you. And that's
Yeah.
what I think makes this feud like an under the radar kind of thing, because like wrestling's all about variety, and this is one of those things where you're like, you look at it, you're like, okay, this is different, and it's appearance based. But then you watch the wrestling, it's like, oh, they can actually wrestle too. So it adds on it. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where it's just like you have to kind of turn your head when like a character is brought on or a wrestler does, because you could wrestle a good match, but if you don't have that extra something that's gonna like kind of like turn your head to the
Here we go.
side,
Ooh.
yeah, like they're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That you need that to catch your attention, because if not, you're just having a steamed steak. No seasoning, no anything. Just like there it is. But it's like if you get in that
Yeah, and
little,
this is going to be a really good match. Damien, I believe it's at Survivor Series. They
yes,
haven't announced it, but I
they they,
anticipate it
they
being
said
at Survivor Series.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then we had Braun Breaker being interviewed by Kathy Kelly. He was interrupted by Sheamus, and then interrupted by Jimmy Uso. Keep in
Hmm.
mind, folks, Jimmy, Jay, and Sammy are looking for that fifth member.
Hmm.
That was an interesting choice. I gotta, man. You know what? Hold on. God bless Cage Match, man. God bless them, because man, I'm thinking. I didn't think about it while we were watching it live, but now you know, uh, memory bank. I believe Braun Breaker fought solo in NXT.
I think there's one match where they had it together. Like this is when he was
Let me
doing the
see.
champ deal.
And I believe it was when I don't think. Let me see. Braun Breaker matches. Shit, I might have to go back a while. He can't. When did Braun Breaker come up?
He came up this year for the roster. Solo came up in 2022.
Two. Okay, so I got to go back a while. Okay. He came back. Let's see. So that was okay. Now I got something. Let's see. Schedule them. Or maybe they didn't wrestle each other. So I'm in September. Okay, I got to go back to. Okay, so I'm in August because he debuted in. I'll never forget when he debuted because it was the night because Clash at the Castle was right before All Out when Brawl Out happened.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how I remember
yeah.
everything there.
Like every
Um,
like like that was like this I think the same press conference where Tony Khan like compared himself to like Jim Crockett, and then he went on this weird tangent where like, oh, what's going on there? And then the whole Brawl Out thing came out. That was a wild like couple of weeks.
all right, so they did team together. Apollo Crews, Braun Breaker, and Solo versus Joe Gacy and the Dyad. June 25th, 2022. So that's when they. Damn, that was a long time ago.
It seems like eons, but it's only like what 2 years.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was an interesting uh, thing that Jimmy talked to Braun. So it's like, is he
So
gonna join them? But you mentioned earlier that you think it's gonna be. Do you believe it's gonna be CM Punk for one side?
now that Rollins is saying he wants nothing to do with Solo, like now that like I went from like 75% to probably like 40%,
Okay.
just like well, it's like it doesn't make sense if like Seth isn't in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like you need that reason. I know Paul Heyman has that connection with Punk, but Paul Heyman has like a loose connection with Cody, as Cody mentioned in the past. So it's
Yeah.
like Cody's like the obvious choice. You know what I mean? Uh, at the same time, during like all these behind like not the behind the scenes, but like all these segments where you had in the background, you had Jay talking to Ray, you had Jimmy talking to Braun, you had Sammy talking to Seth, and it really just kind of shows like everybody's like alignment, if you want to talk about that. Like with Jay and
Yeah.
Ray, two of the most popular baby faces on Raw, so it makes sense why they're interacting. Then you had Jay also talking to Kofi. I'm not sure if that we got to that portion yet. So, and that makes sense because of their history. Jimmy's talking to Braun because Jimmy still has, he's still like that, has that like devil inside him kind of deal where it's like, underhanded, where it's just like he's being cheered, but it's like he's not like a babyface, if that makes any sense. And then you had Sammy talking with Seth because they're tight. So you have all these different thoughts and connections where it's like, yeah, they are trying to find a fifth member, but if you notice, they're all going to different people. So they're
Yeah.
on the same page, but they're not on the same page, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense, and it makes you wonder. Like I mentioned earlier during the live reaction, I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it's The Rock with the new Bloodline and Cena
Mhm.
with the. Oh, actually, that kind of makes sense because Cena's only match was a loss to Solo,
Yeah, his last singles match. Yeah.
and it ties into WrestleMania because Cena. Did he make the save? Yeah, he came in at Russell. Remember, he came in at WrestleMania, so it ties into. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. Now that if that does happen, a
Mhm.
lot of people are gonna freaking go nuts. Like, wait
Yeah.
a minute, Rock and Cena? What?
Like the
So
thing
I
is,
mean, it's
it's like I still think like they're gonna go the safe route. They're gonna go Cody, Kevin, on the
yeah,
respect. Just because even though it doesn't make sense for Kevin, but Kevin's also unhinged now, so he's not supposed to make logical choices. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just
It from what you said, like with the Cody KO thing. Sorry to cut you off, but
no,
it. Most people are like, no. Of course, you're gonna see it on TikTok and man, it should be the Cena and the Rock. This is like, okay, yes, that would be really awesome, but then you have to think logically. Okay, how does WWE tell stories in the last 2.5, 3 years? It's gonna be Cody and Kevin.
hmm
It's gonna be Cody and Kevin. I
and
mean,
we're
that's logical.
it's going to be in Toronto, right? It's going to be in Canada,
Vancouver.
Vancouver. Okay, my apologies. My
Ooh, I
and
just remembered. If you remember a couple weeks ago when Kevin Owens came out before he turned on him,
mhm.
if you remember, a bunch of people were like, "Hey, man, why is Kevin Owens wearing the same color as the Bloodline?"
Yeah, it's like the reason why because
Little, it's
he's wearing that shirt I know the shirt. It's the shirt with him on it, and it's red.
Yeah.
And the thing that I noticed about that shirt, I'm like, that's the same shirt he wore when he turned heel on Big E. That was the last time he turned heel.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that wasn't done by accident.
And that's the thing. Like and WWE is creative. They've been real. Um, what's the word I'm looking for?
Subtle.
Very strategic
Mm.
in placing certain colors
Yeah.
and images and figures, and of course, when a person's doing a promo here and you look in the background, hey, what the hell's going on here? Stuff like that. So they've been real interesting. I would. It's not a coincidence he wore that at that time. I gotta remember what episode it was.
And another thing that people have to keep in mind, why I don't think they're going to go Cody Kevin strictly at Survivor Series, because you want to make sure Kevin Owens is legitimately the most hated heel when Cody goes against, because you don't want that 50-50 stuff. Like, I think now we're at a point where in WWE, like, everyone's like in on the know kind of deal, which is why Cody's still as over as he is, and he hasn't gotten the John Cena treatment. And with it being in Canada, you don't want a risk, like that mixed reaction off the bat, because once that first reaction happens, it gives all the other fan
Trickle
base
effect.
kind of like, I'm like, all right, now we can do like this mixed reaction kind of deal. So if they put Kevin on the Bloodline team, and then on the other side you have Cody, Roman, Jay, Jimmy, Sammy, it's going to be overwhelmingly positive for that team. You know what I mean?
But then again, it is Canada, so they might.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
might turn. They might turn on. Like, yeah, it's KO.
The thing is, Roman's at that point where he is like universally over. So it's like people use the word aura a lot, and I hate when people say it's like, oh, the aura. But I'm just like, if you look at Roman Reigns compared to like everybody else on the roster, Roman's like that notch above. Like Cody's almost there, Jay's almost there, Seth's like teetering, but it's like Roman, then it's like everyone else.
I'm gonna use an old school term. His persona. There you go. I don't know why people use aura. It's called persona. His persona is larger than life. That's an old term that they used to use and everything. So you had that segment, which was really interesting. Then you had the Miz running into the Final Testament. You know what? This is one of the things that at first I was like, this is kind of hokey. But ever since Karrion Kross threatened the Miz,
yeah,
this has been one of the funniest storylines. Just seeing the Miz's being scared of the Wyatts and the Final Testament.
Yeah.
That was interesting because basically, if I recall, the Miz was like, give it up, move on, and everything, which I thought was pretty interesting. Like, oh, okay, that's the Miz. I mean, we've been watching the Miz. We mentioned it during the live reaction. Been watching him close to 19, 20 years. So it's like, we kind of know the Miz's character, characteristics. So we know, we kind of know how he is. It was cool. I believe this is when, let's see. Oh no. So that's when he ran into them. But then this is when they dragged him out to the ring. So they dragged him out to the ring, and it's like, oh, okay, this is what's going to... Now I'm like, oh, man, why did I have this on my notes? And that's when you actually went to go get your charger. Now I'm remembering everything. So they come out, and then the lights go out. The White Six go there, and you got this face-off. Then the Miz, you didn't plan on it. You didn't expect it or anticipate it. He hits Eric Rowan, and then all chaos happens. And then you just have the Final Testament finally get an upper hand on the Wyatt Six, and then you have this embrace between the Miz and Karrion Kross. And I'm still I got to check Twitter, but like I still want to know what the hell happened to Miz's eye. Like,
he got there was a trickle.
Yeah, it was like trickle here and around here. So I think they cut above his eye.
Yeah, like he's gonna get
it just trickled.
He's gonna get like a good shiner from that.
Yeah. So I mean, this segment was interesting. I'm very intrigued to see where this goes now that the Miz is with Final Testament, because throughout the Miz's whole tenure in WWE, he's never been aligned with a dark, spooky
Yeah,
characters.
like the Dark Miz. It's like in my head canon, it's like Paul Ellering got absorbed into the Miz. Miz is like now the vessel of like where Paul Ellering is, and now you have like
Yeah.
forces kind of like fusioning together, the real pure fusion collective. But like you have all like you have like the tendencies of like Paul Ellering, because I'm not sure if he's going to come back to TV at this point, because there wasn't really much of a point for him to be there.
Yeah, and you're talking about the original manager of the Road Warriors
And now you
back
could
in the early 80s.
and
And he was a wrestler.
now you
So,
is in that role, like not like just as a manager, but you have him in a different setting, which I think is good for these older characters in WWE programming, because you don't
yeah.
see them kind of like we've seen the Miz in like the Intercontinental Championship scene.
Miz TV.
We've seen Miz TV a lot, but now this is something different where it's like, oh, okay. Like again, we go back to like the zoom in and we go into the head tilt where it's like, oh, all right.
I was like, Yeah, it's funny because I do have his figure. Where the hell do I have that freaking figure at? Oh yeah, it's back. It's funny. It's in the dark. And I just redid this. I just
Yeah.
replaced all the figures and everything, and I put them in the back. I was like, yeah, maybe it was a foreshadowing and everything. But no, it's really intriguing because his character is um, very loud
Hmm.
and very you could call it glamorous, very Hollywood. And usually when you have characters that have those characteristics
Yeah.
and that presentation, whether it's wrestling or just entertainment in general, you really don't associate them with very dark, spooky, brooding um, figures. Like
It's
it's almost like putting um,
like putting Leonardo DiCaprio in like a Freddy Krueger movie. You know what I mean? Where
yeah,
it's
or
like the
like putting what's a freaking superhero I'm thinking of? Freaking um like putting uh Silver Surfer in like Gotham City. Like
mm,
it doesn't like you're like, wait a minute, huh? Because Silver Surfer is a very shiny, bright character, or
or
even better
or
yet, you know what? A better
or
term,
about
Captain America in
if we're
Gotham
talking,
City.
if we're talking about Miz Booster Gold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just like,
Johnny
man,
Cage.
yeah. I was just like, man, this is interesting, and it was very interesting to see him. He's in all black and everything, which, of course, he's always worn black suits, but like his characteristics, like it's like, man, okay, where's this gonna go? Are we gonna see someone else aligned with the Wyatt Six? Of course, I mentioned it to you. I'm like, hey, man, I would not be surprised if R-Truth is aligned with the Wyatt Six in some way to feud with the Miz, because there's still some unfinished business. I'm like,
Well,
I
also,
wonder if that.
yeah, well, also with Truth, like he did kick Damian Priest out of the Judgment Day, as he said last week. So Truth ain't all there. So he might think
I
he's.
know,
We're
but
gonna,
that would be funny. He's
yeah,
like, Wyatt Six, man, I went to your clubhouse, and man, it's very spooky. Oh
yeah.
man, that would be funny.
Like I,
Then we had go ahead.
I just think Truth, like they're gonna go the Pete Dunne direction for now, just as like the kind of filler.
Yeah. Then we had Seth running into the blood. Okay, I gotta say, this is probably the moment of the night
Hmm.
because we did not anticipate this.
No,
Like Seth was pretty much preoccupied with Bronson Reed. He was approached by Sami Zayn to join, and he's like, "No, I'm not. Nope, not doing it." So Seth Rollins is being interviewed, and Solo makes an offer. Hey, why
hmm
don't you join? You never liked Solo. Why don't you do it with us? And I like the way Seth Rollins set this up. He's like, man, I'm gonna stomp Roman Reigns' head into the ground, but I'm not gonna do it with you.
hmm
Like, nope. I thought that was pretty cool. I do anticipate some backlash, no pun intended, on Seth.
hmm
Uh, ooh, ooh.
What
Hmm.
are we thinking?
Okay, this is very interesting. I don't think we thought about this during. I'm thinking about it now, but I didn't notice it when we did the live reaction. So you got Solo, who was pretty much Seth just like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And then Seth wound up hitting the car.
Mhm.
We could possibly see Seth eventually join Roman
Yeah.
because Bronson Reed is his enemy.
Hmm.
And we could have Bronson Reed with the bloodline,
Hmm.
the new bloodline, and we could have Seth with the old bloodline.
Yeah. That is a good direction to go. I don't think WWE would do it for the fact where it's like you want to. They're portraying Jacob Fatu very strong, and I
Yeah.
feel like they want him to be, for lack of a better term, the big guy of the match in both stature and star power. And I feel like Bronson Reed would, for lack of a better term, kind of dwarf that a little bit.
Overpower. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I think they want to keep Jacob like as that because right now Jacob's in his attraction phase where it's like he's not doing singles stuff. He's
Yeah.
just basically like Solo's like, enforcer. He's in that enforcer role. He's not.
His Batista.
He's Batista, but it's like it's not the Batista because when Batista rose into like the main event, people were shocked because they thought Randy was going to be the guy. Everyone sees it with Solo, so he's like this fusion hybrid of Randy and Batista in Evolution, where it's like, yeah, he's going to be there. Where it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, but
we're
I just thought about that. I'm like, because I know like the bloodline. If you follow the new bloodline, not the old bloodline, the new bloodline, they're gonna get some retaliation. Like
Mhm.
they're gonna get it in. That's
Mhm.
where I'm thinking. I'm like, okay. Because of course we mentioned earlier, it's more than likely gonna be Cody and Kevin
Yeah.
Owens on opposite side. But this might be something that I don't think we're probably gonna be the first people to actually mention this.
Yeah.
Most people are probably gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be Cody and Kevin Owens, and it's like it
There's a
might be
lot.
Seth and Bronson Reed.
There's a lot of position. Like again, like I even brought up the Punk thing. If you really want to have Punk in there, because the wise
Yeah.
man next to them, and like I feel like Punk, 1 year, like out of like it's his 1 year anniversary of his return. I feel like it would be like a good like little story beat in there, and you could tease like matches with Roman. You could tease matches with just a whole bunch of different people, and like you get that first Roman CM Punk interaction. Like I feel like it's almost like made for that. And I did hear some rumors. I'm not sure how reliable they are that Cody Rhodes was actually going to miss Survivor Series. I'm not sure how
Yeah,
true that
he
is.
might.
Like,
And then you know what? And then okay, so let's say you put Punk
mhm.
with the new or old bloodline because of his ties with Heyman, which that's actually a logical thing that could happen. Like folks, don't say, oh, they'll never no, that logically could happen. Um and then on the flip side, you could have The Rock.
Mhm.
It's logical.
It is logical, but the thing is with Rock, I don't see him coming back for a Survivor Series. If anything, it would have happened like the 20-year anniversary that
Actually, you know what?
or the 15-year anniversary, whatever.
I'll present it to you on the flip side.
Hmm.
If it's a War Games match, he really doesn't. It's not a singles match, so
Hmm.
he really doesn't have to do a lot.
He doesn't need to do a lot, but with War Games matches, people expect a lot, and with that, it's
Yeah.
crazy spots, and The Rock ain't gonna be a part of a crazy spot.
Oh no, he's not gonna do crazy spots. So I think it's one of those things like, man, I could, but then it's like, you know what? It's gonna be four other guys in there.
Hmm.
So and you know what? That would be a good. Actually, you know what? If he's in the match, it'd be a good tease.
Hmm.
But if you go with the Seth Bronson Reed, I do anticipate The Rock coming out at the end.
And the reason why, like, I don't think Rock's going to be a part of like either team is
The
because,
match.
like, for the match in general, is like in storyline he's still cool with Roman as of now.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Rock doesn't like Roman in storyline. Like for me, I could see it's like okay, Roman accidentally speared the Rock at WrestleMania. Roman told Rock to acknowledge him. Roman, whatchamacallit, lost the championship due to but the dude, even despite the Rock's interference, like Rock's like, oh, I couldn't Cody, why couldn't you do it? Something like that. So it's like that turn is coming, but like as of now, it wouldn't make sense for Rock to like join Solo yet. I know Solo, like there's that video that was going around in Bad Blood where Solo's like, oh, it's all a part of the plan. Rock coming out, but on TV
Yeah.
we haven't gotten that hint yet. So I'm
Yeah,
not.
and then again with the plan, we know that Solo made up the whole thing as far as meeting with Heyman and everything. So it's more like, okay, Solo's gonna make up stuff so he can get into power. So it's like, okay, this where it goes. But this is an interesting rink or addition to this Bloodline Survivor Series War Games type thing because it's like, okay, they met with Seth. Are we gonna get Bronson Reed there? You know the history with Cody and Kevin Owens. So it's there. You could see them setting up the multiple options of guess who, basically. Wrestling's guess who's like, oh, it could be him. It could be him. I think we're gonna be satisfied with who they put as that fifth person for each team. I'm surprised they're doing the fifth member when it's like just got
Yeah,
4-on-4.
yeah, because it's like it was kind of perfect for 4-on-4, and they've done 4-on-4 before. They've done 3-on-3-on-3. It just kind of seems like the fifth member would just kind of be tacked on. But if you're
Yeah,
Cody and Kevin, they have their own story together, and they're both intertwined with the story as well. Associated by the Bloodline story. So I guess like it's fine, but it's like I could see like very like pure bloodline loyalists being like, no, Cody shouldn't be in here or Kevin shouldn't
yeah.
be in here. You
I
know,
actually like your idea of Punk being in there. That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, and then you could tease like let's say Kevin Owens is still the member, then you could tease CM Punk and Kevin Owens, and that was teased during like one of CM Punk's first shows backstage where CM Punk asked Kevin, it's like, oh hey, where the locker room is, and Kevin's like, no, and then he just walked away. So it's like,
Man, but who else did Punk feud with or have a disagreement with in WWE since he returned? It's been basically Seth and Drew.
mm-hmm. Yeah, there's really
Drew.
he's had interaction.
Okay. And then in the main event, you had Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. You had interference from Nia Jackson, Tiffany Stratton. Then you had Io Sky and Naomi come out.
Mhm.
Um, this
Just
is
this is
this.
this is kind of like I'm gonna use an analogy. Imagine if like you have all these action figures and you're like, oh, I want this person to interact, but you can't find one of the action figures, and you're trying to overcompensate for one of these action figures going missing. You're like, well, I could add this person, this person, this person, and just like I can make it like it's not like what I wanted, but this is what I could like now create now that I don't have that action figure. That's what this feels like
Yeah.
since Ripley is no longer in the picture and she's injured. So it's like we need a women's war games. Who's kind of connected with each other and how can we logically kind of tie in everything together so it makes like not like a neat bow, but it's like it's passable, like at
Yeah.
least
For me, it just feels like this is another year where like something involving the women and Survivor Series is like rushed. I shouldn't say rushed. It's what's the word I'm looking for? I used it earlier. Um, yeah, it just feels like they're there you go, cramming it. Like they're cramming it to get in there because basically anything outside of Liv and Rhea has basically been an island.
yeah.
Like, oh, there's a tag match. Literally, there's a
I
tag match here. Oh, there's a tag match there.
That's what it's been like for majority of the women's storylines since Triple H took over, I think. Where it's like if
Yeah.
you notice ever since Triple H took over, there's been one long woman's story that kind of uh whatchamacallit, just like dominates the entire thing. Because remember, and I'm gonna include when like Vince was kinda in the picture, not really. It was Bayley and Bianca, then it was Rhea and Becky was the thing they were holding off on, so everything kind of felt like filler. And
And
now
remember, they went to Becky and Rhea because Liv got injured.
Yeah, yeah,
And now vice versa.
yeah. Now that's going on. So it's like, like it's one of those things where it's like there needs to be more variety in the women's scene. The addition of the women's United States Championship, we're gonna get that because I think they said on SmackDown they mentioned Raw too, so I'm not sure if it's gonna be like a floating
Yeah, so
between.
it's crossover.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like the women's roster is definitely deep enough, and with the shows going to 3 hours, you're gonna need more content. It just kind of makes sense, but it's
Yeah.
like I don't want to hear anybody saying it's AEW or WWE has more belts than the other. I'm like, guys, it's a for lack of a better term, it's a plot device to get the story moving along. That's what a championship is. Like if I want to
Yeah.
break it down to like the nuts and bolts of the situation, that's what a championship is. I don't care but when it seems like everybody gets a belt, it's the person that holds a belt that makes it special, and that's what they got to do with it.
Yeah, and it's yeah, this main event was, I mean, we've probably seen this type of main event finish like dozens of times on SmackDown and everything, where a team comes out and interferes, and there's an Actually, you know what? We've seen that a lot in women's matches
Yeah.
for WWE, like a lot of interference, and so I mean, you got Liv and Raquel. They were helped out by Nia and Tiffany Stratton. We
Mm,
had Bianca and Jade. They were helped out by Io Sky and Naomi. So
mhm.
it kind of like they're the commentators didn't mention it, but of course us as fans are like, okay, there hasn't been an announcement for a women's War Games match. There's a tag team match. Rhea's not here, so it's like you kind of put two and two together. It's like, okay, they are alluding to a War Games match without alluding to a War Games match. So it's going to be interesting to see who they add to Bianca and Jade, Naomi and Io. Man, who the hell did I say they were going to add to
Mhm.
that side?
I said Candace. You said Bailey, I
Yeah,
think.
you said Candace. I agree with. I remember that one. Candace for Liv, Raquel, Tiffany, and Naya. And I'm trying to think of who the hell I added to the other one. Bailey. There you go. That's literally that's probably the War Games match,
Mhm.
and that's probably the one that we're probably gonna get right.
Yeah,
The men's War Games match. That could go either
that's a big
direction.
that's a big toss up whether you like it or not because I have a feeling because Roman's not going to look for Roman's not going to look for the last partner because I don't think he would unless he's going to Cody, you know what I mean? Uh which adds to their story. Uh,
Actually, I think this could happen
as long as we're
because they didn't.
they better be doing in the where they film that vignette. Like that's got to be
Um,
their like hub. The
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. That
So here's something I thought about by you mentioning Roman not going after someone. There's a reason why they presented Jimmy, Jay, and Sammy going out for someone and not finding them.
mhm,
Because how can they find someone if they're not consulting their wise man?
that's the thing. That's why it's
So
like
I think they're going to introduce Heyman,
mhm,
and then he's going to get their guy. Again, that could be in it. That could be Punk. That could be Cody. That could be Cena. That could be anybody. So I think that's something I could see that happening because I didn't think about it until you mentioned. I was like, wait a minute, they didn't find anybody.
mhm,
So it's like, okay, there has been reports of Heyman
mhm.
return. Like, how you're gonna return Heyman? It's like, okay, this makes sense. Heyman was the wise man. He's the one that would bring people in, and it's like, okay, this is interesting. All right, this could happen. But yeah, with the Liv, Raquel, Bianca, Jay, I mean, it was a decent match.
Mhm.
For me, it's a match that I've seen numerous times. That is just like, okay, can we? For me, it's like, can we elevate? Can we elevate doing something special with these women tag titles and the women titles? Because it seems like we're seeing the same trope, whether it's the
It's kind
Raw
of
Women's title, the SmackDown Women's title, or the tag titles.
it's kind of like for at least for the tag team championships, it kind of feels like that same Cena wins LOL kind of effect. where it's just like it's the same paint by numbers match that Cena had in like '06.
Oh, the same rinse cycle repeat.
And it's just like and they're not doing anything bad. It's just like it's the same formula. It's a
Redundancy.
Yeah, and with Bianca, that was like one of the things people were critical of Bianca for a while, is because like she wasn't developing as a character, and I feel like at least with Jade, it gave her something different to do, but there still hasn't been that development. The only development that's come from is like not baby Bailey becoming babyface, and her relationship with Bianca is probably the most interesting thing about Bianca because Bianca doesn't like Bailey, and we're gonna
Yeah.
see probably them like bury the hatchet soon enough because that's the next logical story you go to.
And then they bury the hatchet, and then that sets up Jade and Bianca, which
Mm.
I mean, we've wanted. I mean, I did a freaking video on the freaking dream match when Jade was in freaking AEW and got like 10,000 views and everything. But I
Mhm.
mean, that was 2 years ago. Now, yeah, you could do a Jade and Bianca match, but it's not gonna have that
Yeah,
that it would have had 2 years ago because you put, you know, I could see what the logic of putting Jade with Bianca, like, hey, kind of like giving her the rub, but it's like really Jade Bianca hasn't given her the rub because like it 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 helped introduce her, but I think what should have happened, they should have, if they were gonna split them up, not turn on each other, but just go their separate ways. Because it's like Jade really hasn't. Think about it. Ever since she debuted, she really hasn't gone to that next level yet.
I mentioned this in Chris's lives. I think this was like my first one where it's like I said Jade isn't the same character from AEW because Jade from AEW actually like had character. With this one, it's like the same presentation, but the character isn't there.
Nope.
It's
The character, and more in depth, like her characteristics
Mhm.
aren't there. They haven't defined her characteristics.
Yeah, it's
She
like
just poses. You know, she
her motivation.
she I man, I don't know if it's a strong word, but it's almost like she's parroting Bianca,
It's very
or they have her parroting Bianca.
it's almost like I don't want to say like it's very over rehearsed if that makes any sense. Where it's like it looks too perfect. It
Yeah,
looks, and that's one of the biggest criticisms that WWE gets, where it's like it's too clean. You know what I mean? Where it's just like it's just too prim and proper. It's just like
yeah,
the presentation is like it's good. It's a great presentation. Like I'm sure it's like it's portraying both Bianca and Jade as two of the more important women on the roster, which is what you want when you're creating new stars. But I don't see anything going. It's kind of like watching a television show, and then you get to the like all you remember is the start of the season and the last episode.
yeah.
Everything in between just is like kind of like you
It's
could
like muddied. It's like
yeah,
I
take
kind of vaguely remember that.
yeah, you could take like episode 10 and then you could put it like where episode 4 is, and then it's like, oh yeah, that still like makes sense narratively. If you take every single match of Jade and Bianca, you don't see their progression as a team. They just started out
No.
as a dominant team. There was no like growing pains. There was no development with them as friends. There's no development as them as individuals. So it's like it just kind of seems like this giant holding pattern.
Yeah, and what's interesting when you think about it, like think about one match that sticks out, one tag team match that sticks out from Bianca and Jade.
Like all of them are pretty much the same. I think I talked
Like
about
there's not one that sticks out. It's like they were
it.
all the same.
Jade's hot tag is very good, but it's like we've seen it. Their finish is very creative, but we've seen it.
We've seen it.
And it's like it's not like it's set up any differently. Like at least like with some tag finishers or different finishers, like the Dudleys will always hit the 3D in different ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with
Like for
this,
instance, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say with this, it's just more like, all right, we're gonna hit the 5 moves of doom, same order, and then 1, 2, 3, we win.
Yeah. Like if you remember, like if you go back to when Jade was in AEW, you remember the Chris Statlander feud. Um, Was it who else did she freaking
Ruby Soho,
Ruby Soho?
Red
You
Velvet.
remember when she did the reversal to I think it was Kiera Hogan, where she
Yeah,
picked her up? Like you don't see none of that creativity with
mhm.
Jade in WWE.
I think it's like, and we both watched WWE for a long time. They're very into the WWE style, where it's like they could take things from like the Indies, and they could take things from AEW, but they're gonna
Then they
WWE.
water it down. It's like nope, keep it like that.
Well, sometimes water it down, but sometimes enhance the presentation that makes it even better. Like Cody's presentation that was enhanced in WWE is better in WWE because WWE has that vision of what they want Cody Rhodes to be. AEW was more like a
Yeah,
loose version, like a rough draft of what we have now with Cody.
and
With
edgier. But
yeah,
actually, you know what? I put it like this: AEW is the graphic novel version of the characters.
yeah,
Because like if you look at Jade,
hmm
she was more aggressive. Her
hmm
character had more aggression, intensity, arrogance,
hmm
and feistiness.
And another thing that helped Jade was she had a group. She had Mark Sterling. I think Red Velvet joined after a while. I think did
Yeah, Layla
oh
Gray.
Layer Gray also joined, and it helped right away for her because she debuted with Shaquille O'Neal. You know what I mean? So it's like it, again. It's like I see progression, but it's not like it's kind of like when you're uploading a file on your computer and it's staying at 2% and it's been like 30 minutes. But
Yeah,
then it's like sooner rather than later, it's like it's gonna be like an hour later, then it's gonna get up to like 56, and then it's
and it's
like
like, yeah,
rendering.
to piggyback off what you said as far as like progression, I see it like this: like it's one thing to see someone over and over again,
Mhm.
but it's another thing to see them like go to the next level. Like it's one thing to see your baseball team compete every year and have the same record, but then it's another thing to see your baseball team compete and then it's like, oh, like
Mhm.
they won 10 more games and oh, they're gonna win a division. Oh,
Mhm.
they won the freaking pennant. Oh, they won the championship series. Oh, they're in the World Series. You get what I'm saying? Like it's that progression, and it just feels like with Jade, the way WB has presented her so far. Like we looked up the stats, she's only had 4 singles matches.
Yeah, that's the thing. And the thing is, it's like when they signed Jade Cargill, it was like danged if you do, danged if you don't. Because it's like they signed it as like a huge deal. This is the first pure AEW signing that WWE acquired, and the first like big like are for the women and just in general. So you had to make it a big deal. And the thing is, I know a lot of people were like, "All right, where is she? Where is she? Where is she?" Like this has happened in like November, like last year. And the thing is, it's just like they weren't confident that she was up to snuff for what they were looking for, which is okay because Jade was pretty much
Uh,
thrown into the deep end in AEW right off the bat. She was like, "All right," or AEW was like, "All right, you're a star today." Even with the limited ring experience. And then when she debuted in the Rumble, like then it's like, all right, we're off to the races. But now it's like again, it's one of those things where it's like you got the sports car, but you can only go 30.
yeah, so it's like,
you it's like
it's
it looks,
like,
but it's like, and
yeah.
it'll get you like where you need to go. But the time, I think, is the biggest issue because a lot of things in wrestling is a very big "what have you done for me lately" kind of business. The
And keep in
latest
mind,
everybody,
she tweeted a while back, like, man, I miss being that that what rhymes with itch. Remember that was her slogan in AEW.
yeah.
I'm that. So it's just like, hmm.
And the thing is, another thing that's different is she's a babyface,
Yeah,
and
she's a natural heel. She is a
y-
natural heel.
and the thing is, it's like when you're babyface and all you know is like, let's see, like you're only know one thing. It's like Piper being a babyface. You know what I mean? Where it's like he could do it, but it's just like it's not as effective as if he was a heel. You know what I mean? It's like the same thing with Miz as a babyface. where it's like it was fine, but it's not him as a heel. You
It's like
know,
that doesn't. You need to go back as a
yeah, it's
heel.
or miscasting roles. You know, I feel like I know she has the Storm is coming, and I'm just like, oh, it makes sense because she looks like Storm from the X-Men, which I'm just like, oh, that's freaking rad. You know, it's just like
Ooh, that's cool.
it's like presentation's the same in AEW, but it's just like it was the presentation in AEW stood out because no other woman was being presented like that. In WWE, you have a lot more uh, people.
Everyone's presented like this larger than life
Exactly. So it's like
character.
she will get lost in the shuffle because of that. And I feel like her I think she has one of the best physiques, not just for the women, just like in general within WWE. She looks like a
Yeah.
comic character brought to life. But the thing is, if you don't have the writing behind that character, why should I pick up the issue?
You know what? I look at it this way, and it's sad to say. I don't want to compare it to this, but having lived through it,
Hmm.
I do see some similarities of how WWE presented the Big Show and how they presented Jade Cargill.
With it's a little different in that with Big Show, I think WWE would panic every time Big Show didn't fit the mold that they were looking for because they tried the bodyguard, didn't work. Then they tried the union thing, didn't work. Then they tried the team with Taker, didn't work. Then tried to have him as WWF champion, didn't work. And that all happened within a span of like within that year.
Yeah, that was, let's see, 99 February. That was actually within 2 years because in 2001, of course, he had weight issues and everything,
Yeah.
which that's not comparable. But the
Mhm.
way they introduced him, like, oh my God, it's more, hey, we got this big giant from WCW
Mhm.
that, hey, we're bringing him on. And it's kind of similar, hey, we got this big giant woman from AEW
Mhm.
on here. And it's just like,
With with
mm,
with Big Show, WWE was more reckless with him, and because if you remember when he debuted, he basically led Austin to beat McMahon, you know, and then a couple weeks later, lost to Austin in a singles match, no build up
yeah, it
whatsoever.
was just really weird back then. It was like, huh?
Was kicked out of the authority, like the corporation, lost to Mankind at WrestleMania, then was the Union, then did that team with Taker, which was a punishment, by the way. Yeah,
It was
the
like, I hated that. I hated that run. I liked them in WCW, but I'm
yeah
like, dude,
the
what the hell are you guys doing with them in WWE?
the funny like I always liked the Taker Big Show team just for how ridiculous the theme song was. You
I
know, it was,
liked the tag team because they were freaking like, who the hell's gonna beat this team?
and then
Like they're
after
freaking monsters.
yeah, and then afterwards he was WWF champion, and that was from February to that year's Survivor Series. So it's just like we're coming up
Yeah,
to the similar point with Jade Cargill right now. So with Jade Cargill, like compared to Big Show and WWE being reckless, now Jade Cargill is like being presented very safe. And I think that's the wrong thing to do at this moment. Like you
yeah,
can't be safe with a character like this. You have to at least take some risks. With Cody Rhodes, they did take a risk, and that risk was losing to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. And it was a risk that
yeah,
paid off.
yeah. Because if you think about it, with Jade Cargill, um, especially with someone like with her unique presentation and everything, you have to be you got to be aggressive and like really intent on presenting, making her unique.
Mhm.
Because you think about it right now, you got Tiffany Stratton standing out. You got Liv Morgan with a revamped character standing out. You got Raquel Rodriguez who returned standing out. In NXT, you got Julia, Stephanie,
You have all
Roxanne.
the NXT woman is what's going to be a hindrance to Jade Cargill.
Yep.
Because the NXT women's roster compared to any roster in wrestling in general. If you want to include Stardom, fine, but it's like the NXT roster for the women is the most diverse roster that we've had because you have mixes of all different styles. You have what WWE loves, which is their own in-house stars that they've created that are all different. You know, because like you like Sol Ruka, different presentation. Tatum Paxley, different presentation. Wendy
Nikita
Chu,
Lyons,
Nikita Lyons, different
Jada
presentation.
Parker.
Jada Parker, different presentation. Lobo Vice, different presentations. I have a strong feeling that the women that we're seeing on the Raw and SmackDown roster right now, they're going to be eaten up once they're calling up these NXT women.
Yeah.
Because
And you know what? I've used the analogy. You probably heard it on the TikTok lives that like WWE, the way their structure is, it's similar to like the Major League Baseball. If you call someone up, someone either has to go down or they have to move on. That's just how it is. And I think you're right. You're going to see movement. And I do think that if they do, or it's not if, but when they sign Jordan Grace and everything, now you got a muscle bound woman who's actually wrestled around the world. Where does that leave Jade? It's like she's not unique anymore. She's not the new hot thing anymore. And that's something I do give AEW credit. They protected Jade where every time she was presented, she was the hottest thing to watch. And in WWE, they presented her where it's like we said, they've normalized her. And it's just like, man, you got like 6, 7, 8 women in NXT that are eventually gonna get called up within the next year. And it's like, how is Jade Cargill gonna stand out? Like that's
because I guarantee once we have like someone, I'm gonna just pick a Sol Ruka, who's in trained WWE, for lack of a better term. Once she hits the what is it, the Soul Snatcher,
yeah.
over, because no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
What is Jade doing that no one else is doing?
Jordan Grace is doing it. I mean, I know whoever's watching this, you're like, oh, we're not Jade haters. We like Jade Cargill, but we know how WWE operates.
The thing is with WWE, we're just saying that WWE is being very safe with her character. They're putting like, it's like they're bubble wrapping Jade right now, where it's
too safe.
Yeah.
It's too safe.
It's almost like remember, it's like when you're learning how to swim, like the floaties, like that's fine, but it's like not only is it the floaties, it's the bubble around, like the bubble belt that you had in order to make you float. Then they snorkel, you have everything. It's almost like where it's like you can't like move, you can't even swim, you can't even pool because you have so much stuff on you. That's what it feels like with Jade Cargill, and it's going to be interesting to see if WWE's investment will pay off when it comes to her.
Yeah, I think me and Gaijin mentioned it. Oh man, was it? No, it was the Friday before, and we were like, yeah, she signed a multi-year contract, but we're like, realistically, she might be the first one that goes to WWE and comes back. Because if you think about it, you look at the way if she goes back to AEW, she stands out, and that's the main thing. You stand out, but then again, of course, this is hypothetical. I mean, she could stay there because she wants the movie roles and everything, but I mean, you never say never in wrestling.
I don't think she's going back because, like, Endeavor is going to Endeavor's going to help her out a lot, and the thing is, it's like you really have to be like not careful, but now it's like now's the time to take some risks. She's been with WWE for a year, been on the main roster since January, March, if you want to go like that, and she's learned a lot from Bianca, and she said she doesn't want to talk about AEW, which I respect. She's on to her next chapter in WWE, and I think that's the big thing with her is like everyone's always going to compare her AEW stuff, and that's going to be a big thing for a lot of people. It's going to be the same thing when WCW guys went to WWE or WWE's going to
that's
AEW.
That's who we compared it to. Just came to my mind.
Yeah,
me and Gaijin, we were like, it's not necessarily the Big Show. She's similar to how when Lex Luger went from WCW to WWF, where she was hot. It's a perfect parallel because her gimmick was this and this, and then after a while it went there, and then it's like, you know what? And you know what? The other thing, we don't know how the entertainment industry is going to be after next year because of everything that's changed outside of wrestling in the real world, especially in this country. So that's another factor where it's like, okay, Like
And
maybe 3 months ago, 4 months ago, it's going to go here, but things can change
another
easily.
big thing with WWE and professional wrestling in general, there has to be a sense of relatability in the character. And with
Yeah.
Cargill, she looks great. She's a superhero, and you need those kind of characters. But with Superman, we still got Clark Kent. We still got to know the man. With Jade Cargill, we haven't had that deep connection with, at least on WWE television, on why we should be connected with her as the individual. Why
Yeah.
should we root for her success? Why should she
Um,
be in this position? We need that why for why we need to be attached to her. And I feel like
I'm,
WWE is more so telling us be attached than actually letting it naturally happen.
I'm glad you brought that up because you look at, and I'll use it as the African American women wrestlers.
Mhm.
They've given us a why for Lash Legend and Jakara. They've given us a why for Kalana Jordan. They've given us a why for Jada Parker. Um, trying to think of who else is in NXT.
Uh,
They've given us a why for Roxanne. They've given us a why for Cora Jade.
that's a
They've
why for
given us a why for Soruka. Was
Paxley.
it Fatal Influence?
Yeah.
They've given us a why for them.
Mhm.
Tatum Paxley and Rosemary, that whole thing. They've given
Yeah.
us a why for that.
Wendy Chu.
Um, Wendy Chu. They've given us a why for Nikita Lyons. So it's
Oh,
like,
Thea Hale. Uh,
yeah.
and who's that person who just joined No Quarter Catch Crew?
Shit.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. And
They all got the same name. They all look alike.
like, because I wasn't sure. Like, I was like, because I remember watching. I'm like, is she from NXT or is she from TNA? Like, that's what was getting. Because I know that they do the crossover.
Yeah. Damn, I forgot her name, but I know who you're talking about. So I'm glad you brought that up because they've developed a why. Why should we be interested? And it's crazy because in the main roster, we still haven't had a why for Jade Cargill.
Mhm.
Um, now that they released Candice Indy Hartwell, we still don't know have a why for Candice LeRae.
Mhm.
Um, we don't have a why
With Candace,
for
they're doing the Naya stuff right now, so it seems like there might be doing like a competition storyline between her and Tiffany Stratton, which is
yeah.
good. Like, once that's over, we got to figure out what Candace is doing by herself.
Also, we don't have a why for Selena Vega, even though she's been there.
Yeah.
So it's I remember who was it? It was I think it was Gaijin. He brought it up. He's like, oh no, it was Balbro. He's like, hey, there are some people that could be expendable when they have their next round. We don't
Mhm.
wish it, but it's like you have to look at it how WB operates. You can see like, okay, this like
Well, if you think about WWE, and especially with this ID system, they legitimately have every pathway to
yeah,
call people up and then let them go. Because remember, they had that NXT like class rule where it's like if you're not showing improvement in 6 months, you're out.
yeah.
So it's like I wouldn't be surprised if we see similar things on the main roster. But right now, they've been very good with rotating talent.
Yeah.
So, like, I again not wishing that on anybody, but
I mean, we've seen the pattern of WWE. I mean, that for those of you who are watching, we're speaking in regards to WWE's pattern. We're not saying this is going to happen or we want this to happen. It's just observing WWE's pattern. And what's interesting is I'm probably going to look it up after we get done. We got a couple more minutes.
mhm.
Um, I haven't heard any reports as far as Jade Cargill's merchandise.
No, does she? She does have a shirt. I know that.
But think about it. You haven't heard any and that's what concerns me is because they have so many options
Hmm.
as far as women coming up, like just fresh, eyes and ears and who's that? Like, who's that? And it's like that's why like me personally like I still never say never in wrestling. But with Jade Cargill, like she's been there for a year. And what's crazy is some of the women wrestlers in AEW got more TV movie deals than she did, and that's one of the reasons why she left. And it's like,
Another thing is like you can't account on who actually gets over. That's like usually it's very tough to have something that's manufactured in order to be like as over as as it was. Because remember, like you got Steve Austin, then Cena, then until they corporalized Cena, and then Cody, like all the
and
Roman. Like, but now it's like I think it's the time where it's like we're in this position where it's the people that we don't expect that people are drawn to more. Look at LA Knight, Jey Uso, all these people you couldn't imagine them being as
Jordan Grace,
Jordan Grace.
eventually.
Yeah, people.
Or you know who else? Zarya. That's who I forgot.
Yeah,
And
she's gonna be.
that's a standout. I remember I told guys in our text, I was like, hey, everybody's talking about Stephanie and Julia, but knowing WWE and looking at her, they're going to push Zarya to the moon.
Listen,
that's action figures and everything.
The thing with Zarya, she is like if you were to create a wrestler in a video game, you give them all the best, like the spear, the F5, like just everything. Like she's gonna be fine, regardless.
And that's the other thing. She's probably gonna be there for what, a year?
I'd be surprised if Stephanie and Julia and Zarya collectively stay in NXT 2 years.
Yeah, because you think about, like you mentioned, they have the WBID.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, hey, you can come in, boom, hey, we'll push you up. So that's my concern with like Jade Cargill. Like last year was like, oh man, it's cool, but like if you've been watching wrestling for a long time, I've been watching wrestling for a long time. The wrestling business can change in a year. Like someone you thought that was hot, all of a sudden someone surpasses them as far as popularity and attraction, and boom. I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah, and it's just like I was saying before, like if you were to tell anybody that Jey Uso would top Roman Reigns and CM Punk combined in a month with merchandise, they would have called you crazy. They would have been like, "You take give me your pro wrestling fan badge."
It's like,
It's
so it's interesting, man.
And the thing is, last month, like he got that's when he was the bulk of his Intercontinental Championship run, and that was for him winning the Intercontinental Championship. That is merch sales through the roof, overtaking Punk and Roman. Now, of course, you could go like, well, the number of merch with Jay compared to Roman and Punk, but even still, it's two of the top names in the industry.
Oh, I forgot. With the Jade thing, you potentially have Alexa Bliss and Charlotte returning.
So it's like it's going to be the women's division is going to be very healthy right now because for a while the women's division it felt like 2016 WWE a little bit. Remember, it's like that WrestleMania 32, I think it was, when it's like you had no Cena, you had no Randy, you had no Seth, no Cesaro. You didn't have like any of like the main or mid players that were like. Again, it got so bad that Vince had to call his own son in order to compete at WrestleMania.
Sell tickets. So yeah, it's that whole like I agree with you. Like it's gonna be healthy. They're gonna have a lot of options. But again, like Jade Cargill, like they have her here, but at the same time, you got all these shiny new toys. What we counted? What 7 to 12?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think about it, it's 4 with Roxanne, Cora Jade, Julia, Stephanie, or freaking Zarya.
Well, the thing is with WWE, they want to call Roxanne Perez like yesterday. At least Cora Jade has had a couple main event showings on the show, not the actual position. But
yeah, then eventually you're gonna have Lola Vice and Jada Parker.
It's just like everything
there.
So stacked right now.
That's 8. That's 8, 9.
It's going to be like it's going to be very interesting to see like the positioning of the women after this because as we saw with with the Metaphor when they got I'm not sure if it was like called up or anything like that. I'm not sure if it was a call up, but like
Hmm.
their presentation was a 2 minute squash, like on SmackDown after being interrupted by Kevin Owens. Great angle for
Yeah,
Cody, but it's like not very faithful for the women's roster at large. But now with that extra hour going to SmackDown and Raw having an extra hour again, because for a while they started showcasing a lot more different people for those 3 hour shows with a good healthy rotation. With the 2 hours, especially with their roster size, maybe not as healthy.
yeah.
So now it's
Because
just
of
with NXT, it's like there's no rush to call like a bunch of people up, but I could see when SmackDown and Raw go to 3 hours, I could see we're getting at least like 3 to 4 women called
yeah,
up.
because you figure with actually most wrestling shows that are 2 hours, you're gonna get a minimum of 4 matches.
Hmm.
Usually that's the standard 4 matches, especially on SmackDown with 2 hours, that's 4 hour matches, and then with Raw when it's like for 3 hours, you're usually gonna get 6 matches. So
Is
that
it?
gives you another match slot on each one.
Mhm. Is it me or does Pure Fusion Collective seem like the Walmart version of the Fatal Influence uh, team?
There's a lot of parodying, copy and paste with a
Yeah,
lot of things. It's just like, huh? But man, thank you, Richie. This was fun.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, Thank you guys for tuning in. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the City of Wrestling. That way you're notified when the City of Wrestling drops its latest content. And pay attention to the community section of City of Wrestling where we drop the latest news and some of the latest matches in the world of professional. Make sure you follow this gentleman, Richie Mars, at Wrestling Retold and Relived. Man, this was fun, man. This was
Man.
really fun. Thank you for joining me because usually when I do these 2 hours, I'm talking for 2 hours, and by the 45-minute mark, is just like, whew,
Yeah, it's
I'm
brutal.
pretty winded.
I do a solo show on NXT and it's tough. It's brutal to do and like
Very winded.
when it's like I do it's like oh yeah that happened and then you're just like I'm talking to myself right now.
It's like, whew, Lord have mercy. And I didn't do it this week, but normally I do a lot of play-by-play
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So it's like, ooh, okay, I don't have to do a lot of play-by-play. Let me. Ooh. But man, thank you so much. I hope you had fun, folks. Make sure you follow this gentleman. Also, folks, be on the lookout for a new City of Wrestling account on Blue Sky. A lot of people are migrating over there. I like it so far. It's pretty much what Twitter was before, what Twitter was like 2, 3 years ago, and everything. That's saying a lot. It's a fun atmosphere. It's healthy.
It was toxic
Um,
before, it's toxic now, but at least it's under the blue sky.
yeah, no, it's actually, you know what? Not even 2, 3 years ago. I would say it's what Twitter
Like,
was like 10 years ago.
yeah, okay. I gotta check it out because I
Yeah,
keep
so
getting
it's
it, but I'm like, I'm not on social media anyway. But it's like I kind of have to be on social media. But it's like
it's
it's a,
very informative.
yeah.
That's what I like about it. It's very informative, and it's just punctual. It's not a whole bunch of ads. That there you go. But man, thank you guys, folks. Like I always say, there is never a dull moment in the world of professional wrestling. Never say never. Again, make sure you guys hit the notification that way you're notified when the State of Wrestling goes live. More than likely, I will be doing a live reaction to AEW Dynamite. I'm really interested to see what the hell Moxley means by seizing Superstation TBS,
Mhm.
because that's actually a throwback because it's no longer the Superstation TBS.
Yeah.
That's what it was called like 20, 30 years ago. So I'm interested to see that. Again, Richie, thank you so much.
Uh,
Um,
having me.
Man, this was fun. Folks, again, until next time, I will see you then. Man, I'm actually burning up right now because I got my heater in front of me and I have this thick sweater. And I'm like, man, why am I so like tired? And I'm like, I got this thick sweater and this heater in front of me, so I'm like burning, man. But man, thank you so much, folks. Have a wonderful, safe night. Do good. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world. Do good. Treat each other good. Hopefully, this was a form of escapism for you guys with everything going on in the world. Again, do good. We need it. You know, a lot of people need it. You never know what someone's going through. But man, like I said, just do good, be good, think good, and treat people how you would want to be treated. So with that, folks, I'm out.